time. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. I'll leave.
Thank you. Good to
See
talk
ya.
to you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Cheers, guys. All right.
Good evening.
Evening.
Good evening.
Paper.
Let me check. I have clicked live. I think it's best that he wasn't in here anyway, because when you're Googling triangles...
Evening.
There we go.
Evening.
It's the echo in your brain. You know you can't sustain the misconceptions in your mind. One day you'll see for sure what all of this was for. Then you can leave it all behind. The journey begins. I am the one, yeah, that will show the proof. I am the one, yeah, that is searching for the truth. I am the whispers of the logic in your mind. I am an agent of the Logos. In the beginning was found this thing that cannot speak. It's how we all truly learn. It's only ever attained when one lets go of fear. So don't let wisdom pass you by. The journey begins. I am the one, yeah, that will show the proof. I am the one, yeah, that is searching for the truth. I am the whispers of the logic in your mind. I am an agent of the Logos. It was there all along. How could I never have seen this thing that's danced all around? It wasn't until I left behind the things I believed that I could see things so clear. The journey begins. Become the one, yeah, that will show the proof. Become the one, yeah, that is searching for the truth. Become the whispers of the logic in their mind. Become an agent of the Logos. Become an agent of the Logos. We are the agents of the Logos.
And we are live. Welcome everyone. It is Tuesday, and it is Logic Night. We weren't live yesterday out of respect. You know, everybody knows what I went on over the last week or so, so that's why we didn't go live. Just didn't seem right. Logos told us not to go live, so Sorry if anybody missed out on that. That's just the way it is.
But we're back.
Yeah, we are. And we had a good chat over the weekend. There seems to be a shift that has occurred. Friday night, obviously, we went over to have a word with Red's Rhetoric. And I think I blew off a few of the cobwebs there, because I've always known that there's never been anything to come from these people. It's bad to say that, but everybody knows what we mean when we say that. The ones with no argument, the ones that just add harm and slander, libel, doesn't really matter. They want to try and get you annoyed within, let's say, within the argument, but it's not an argument. The new argument, modern argument, where people just shout at each other, imagine they're getting somewhere. But we seem to be I think we've hit upon something that's like ancient, from antiquity. It's been lost, mainly on purpose, but I don't think it has been lost. I think there are a few people that still have this as the foundations of their upbringing, their academic learning. Buster just said it a minute ago. Who taught you to think? And I don't think, me personally, don't think that I knew when I coming into this, obviously, try thinking, that I personally wasn't thinking enough. I needed to focus in on something that I personally had seen that I needed to fixate on and sort out, not in my own head, well, yeah, in my own head, but I had a purpose. I don't know why I had that purpose. And since coming here, meeting people, and gradually having I call it an awakening of senses, thought. I've sort of realised I'm quite good at it, and I quite enjoy it. Thinking is it's one of the best things, because you're always with yourself, and if you can learn to be at ease with yourself and have thoughts that complement you, then you'll be much happier. You'll find a much easier way. So that's where the conversations we've had over the weekend, and obviously over the last, I don't know, few months, really, it's been building up to, I think it's already happened. The shift has already begun, and there's nothing anybody can do about it now. And we'll go over a few of these little words that we've had, because I think a few of these ones over the past few days, recap last week, I think, because these are what these words that have been lost are a way of controlling what these people try to put upon you. They try to off-put you in a way that gives them the upper hand in a non-argument sense. There's how do you explain the argument without it seeming, because nowadays an argument is a thing that you and the missus have, or you know, an argument with a neighbour or something, and it's just shouting because somebody's done something wrong that you don't like, so you confront them and start shouting at them. Well, that's not the sort of argument that we're talking about. That's the argument of the shifting of words, which I think, I'm hoping that we're going to go into this if you can't lie because you just simply, it's really hard to lie against the truth. If you can't lie, then it's much easier to just make the words so people don't understand what's going on. It's the easiest way, it seems. And it's all down for interpretation, but I think that's happened to a lot of words. Argument being one of them. Now, an argument... Go on, sorry.
I was just going to say, if I can jump in here for a second, I think you're right. And just to clarify for anybody that might be listening, an argument is associated with, like Bev said, shouting, but even in its best form, it's associated with debate, even in formal debates. But that's not really what it is. An argument stems from logic, which is attached to rhetoric. Rhetoric is using grammar and logic. It's part of trivium. It's using grammar and logic to try to get your point across, to try to make a formal logical argument. And you use rhetoric to try to convince someone of the point that you're making using logic. That's what an argument was in the past. Now that's changed. Even if it's in its best form, people think it's debate. It's not debate. It's not what an argument is. So it is frustrating, and I think we have lost a lot of these words, and we'll talk about more that we've apparently lost and found. I mean, they're out there, but no one talks about these words anymore. Seems to me.
Yeah, they keep getting gifted to us.
Yes, indeed.
So yeah, that's what we were on about, is the old argument, ancient, would be the argument that most akin to what people would call nowadays the scientific method. The putting together these points. If I do this to this, then this will happen to it, and then record the results, right? Make sure you see what happens, and the recorded results would be the discussion about the words. The typical argument within logic is formulated in that way, and the results at the end are the discussion about how you could formulate the logic to make it more concise, precise, and come up with a result, right? You're after, I think, a tautology. You're after something that can only be true within an argument form. And then when the argument is presented to somebody, somebody would be compelled to understand it as a truthful statement. Now, there are many of these, obviously, because there are obvious truths of things. Well, within science, the whole thing at the minute, people say they can't prove things, but I say you can. If things are in reality, you can prove that thing is that thing. So, I'm a bit... I don't know. I don't know what's going on with it at the minute. If it seems as though all of these words that people are using have all been messed up and jumbled up to the point that people can't even understand what's going on anymore. They can't see where the path is. They're that confused. They can't see the identity of the subject that they're talking about. And they can't find an argument to present for the case that they want to be arguing about. It's very strange. And this is the reason why Red's rhetoric can't debate. Very strange. As far as we can see, that I've laid out a case of things that I've said that I'm willing to defend within a debate style. Everybody knows the points that I bring up, and most people know the proofs that we can bring within argumentation form into a debate scenario. people don't want that because that's not the sort of argument and debate that they want. Well, we like now to present proofs rather than be negative about things. And we know that there are a certain group of people that are never going to present an argument. They're never going to present anything that for us to knock at, because again, all there is really is to study and look into how arguments are formed and how debates are done in order for us to get better at that. I know going into any of these debates, there will be never anybody to argue against level is a straight line on a horizontal plane, and there will never be anybody to argue against all horizontals being parallel. They're two basic, simple arguments that can be made very easily. And we did a day on Saturday. I've got 4 videos waiting. I don't know whether anybody would like to watch them or anything, but they are full-on conversations that literally show how modern-day sophists choose to try an argument, have an argument with no argument. And once you see this, you will see it everywhere. Because that's literally all there is within this circus clown show that we seem to be in at the middle of. So, let me see, can I see? Let me check this. Now, screen. I see you guys can see that one. And I'll just move this over. Oh, always does. There we go. Now, this is, we're still on the screen from last week when we did. Can you guys see that in Discord?
Yes.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
can.
So this is ataraxia. Now, did that come from? We had Epoche, didn't we? Is it worth going over that Epoche?
Yeah, I don't see why not if you can lay your hands on it really quick. Oh, there it is right there. There's a link for it. Just scroll up a little bit. Right-hand side of the text there.
Oh, there you go.
Yep.
Okay.
That's a good one, that one. The Epoche.
Right, well, yeah, you've got to watch this because something for everybody to think. These words that we're talking about here, I don't know whether they go back to different times or different types of philosophy, but I mean, if you think about the philosophers in the past, particularly like you've got Descartes. Now, is there a like a Descartism, or like a time where these philosophy states get a mention? And if you did, what do you think they'd look back at this time and call it? Like who would you be, right? Because they're talking about Pyrrhonists. What is that?
Yeah.
Like, why are they saying that about these groups of people?
Today you talk about the philosopher, right? You'll talk about Descartes or Kant or any of these guys. But back then, I mean, with this stuff, you're talking about movements. You're talking about groups of people. not just a philosopher. That's interesting.
Yeah, but I mean, if you were to take up Descartes' views, then would they call you a Descartist or something like in the future when they look back at that time? Do you think they might end up calling, people with a certain viewpoint just something that somebody else has started talking about? It's interesting, but within this, there's 3 different groups. There's the Pyrrhonists, the Stoics, and what's the other one called? Pyrrhonism. Oh, yeah. Well, it'll come up.
We'll find it. Yeah.
So there's a few different ideas, and these different groups think of this thing differently. So basically, it's telling you that you can, with these words, they're old words. You'll have to decide for yourself what you think these words actually mean. What are they all there for? So you can only take Wiki for your understanding of these words, but they should come to you, right? They'll fit somehow within your framework, and it depends on your initial framework that you're putting these words into, how it will appeal to you. So the idea of this Epoche or Epoche,
is that how do you pronounce it, Essie? You said it.
Just put an H there. Epoche.
Epoche. Oh, yeah. Epoche. Okay, thank you. That's good.
After the O. Epoche.
Yep. Epoche.
Yeah, perfect.
There you go.
Sweet. Right. So, the Pyrrhonists developed the concept of epoche to describe the state where all judgments about non-evident matters are suspended to induce a state of ataraxia. Right now, ataraxia is like, we'll get there in a bit. Freedom from worry and anxiety. The Pyrrhonist philosopher Sextus Empiricus, that's brilliant.
That's a great name. That's a great name.
Gives this definition. Epoche is a state of the intellect on account of which we neither deny nor affirm anything. This concept is similarly employed in academic skepticism, but without the objective of ataraxia. In Stoicism, the concept is used to describe the withholding of assent to Fantasia, impressions. For example, Epictetus uses the term in this manner: if what philosophers say is true, that in all men action starts from one source, feeling, as in assent, it is the feeling that a thing is so, and in denial, the feeling that it is not so. Yes, by Zeus, and by Epoche, the feeling that it is uncertain. So, always impulse towards a thing, it's originated by the feeling that it is fitting, and will get to get a thing by the feeling that it is expedient for one, and it is impossible to judge. So, in Stoicism, they're saying that the Pyrrhonists in Epoche is used to suspend judgment, but there's an added element to how you, I don't know whether it says feeling, but is that what they mean? Do they mean your gut, your initial instinct within the Stoicism? Because that's where we're going tonight. We're going. With these guys, the Stoicism.
Yeah. Well, they were very pragmatic, so keep that in mind. They were like down to earth.
Yeah, I think these are the original ones, these Stoics. I think all of the other ones are fragmented off to just break it up bit by bit. I like what we're doing tonight.
And so I got to tell the story, Bev, because Bev and I were chatting earlier today, and he just out of the blue, he asked me, I didn't see any of this. Out of the blue, he asks me, have you ever heard of Fantasia? And I'm like, Fantasia? Have you guys heard of Fantasia? Any of you? Just
in a movie? Was a movie,
right?
no?
It was right. It was a Disney movie, right? Fantasia. And then it was one of my favorite movies. Ones my kids loved was Never Ending Story. You know, that was a fictional realm in Never Ending Story. It was Fantasia. But that's it. And then Bev asked me what that meant. Now Bev's going to get into this term, but this is how the Logos works, right? It's freaking mind blowing.
Yeah.
To me.
Now we've gone back to this, right? We'll go out, recap what we've just said and go over it again, right? It says, in Stoicism, the concept is used to describe the withholding of assent to Fantasia, impressions. Right? So that's Epoche.
Yeah, let me just do this real quick. I want a definition of assent, because even that is a word that, right? So definition, let's see. Definition of assent: to agree or concur, subscribe to give in or to yield or to concede. That is what assent is. To give your assent means I concur, I agree, right?
Right.
That's what it means.
Yeah, Epoche is there to stop you, right, from you withhold assent, so you don't give in to this Fantasia. It will become a little bit more apparent in a bit when we go over it, but it states that there, the Epoche is a method or an idea to stop you from handing over your assent. We'll go over it again in a bit anyway. So do we need to go over any more of that? I mean, it does say that Epoche plays an implicit role in subsequent philosophical skeptic thought, as in Descartes' epistemic principle of methodic doubt, and Husserl. Husserl elaborates the notion of bracketing or phenomenological epoche or phenomenological reduction. So all of these different ideas of epoche is how I think people have used this idea of reserving judgment, really. Just holding back. If you don't know and you know there's no way of you knowing, then you literally don't have to give in to any of these ideas. You don't have to put yourself on either side or wherever, really. I mean, how many sides are there if you don't know?
Exactly.
Like that's the problem. Go on.
This was one of my favorite quotes, and Aristotle knew it. It's one of his quotes that's attributed to him as the sign of an educated person is being able to entertain a thought without accepting it.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we get back to Aristotle in a bit, like, because all of this goes back to the original, right? I don't know who else before Aristotle there was. Literally, all of this sort of stuff is attributed to him. Is there anybody before this? I mean, or is Aristotle just the supposed writer like Euclid was, the guy that put it all together and ended up getting accredited for it? Obviously, it must have been before that.
Yeah, probably, but it seems to be, like you said, much like Euclid, where it seems to be a confluence of all sorts of different things solidified into Aristotle. Whether he was a real person or not, I mean, nobody really knows for sure. But yeah, I think that's fair to say. It's kind of all just glued together with Aristotle.
Aristotle was a real person. He was a educator of Alexander the Great. So this is definitely
Yeah,
historical.
it wasn't a fairy tale. Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, as how certain am I of that statement, right? But yeah,
You're practicing Epoche
Yeah.
right now. You're not
I'm
giving a set.
practicing
There you go.
Epoche.
Yep.
Well, no, I should have practiced Epoche, but I put my nose in where I should have practiced Epoche.
Well,
Yeah.
this is
That's
one of
why-
those things that I think that if they could have got rid of him, they should have done, right?
Yeah.
If this plan had been a massive plan to wipe this as it is and over a long amount of time, like it supposedly has been wrote down, then it shouldn't exist. The fact that all of Plato's works, every one of them, they're not missing anything. They say the whole thing is complete. That sounds very weird to me. You know, all of these things that we actually have, we shouldn't have. They shouldn't be around because they disprove certain things.
You know why
Easily.
I sounded? Oh,
What?
sorry, but
No, go on.
I was going to say, you know why I sounded certain about Aristotle? Because he was the teacher of Alexander the Great, and not just the Greeks wrote about him. Just about every culture has written about Alexander the Great. So there is historical proof there.
And also there are historical proofs about his life because he was involved in politics. Aristotle, he was married with some daughter of some king in Eastern Greek or something like that. I can't remember. And his wife was took as a hostage. And when the war between Philip, father and of Alexander, started war with that king, this hostage was killed. So his wife was killed. So he had very unhappy personal life also. And there are facts, historical facts. So I think it can prove that he was real.
Yeah, more than most historical figures, let's put it that way.
By referring to Descartes, René, I have read his, I don't know the title in English. I think it would be Treatise on Method.
Yeah, methodic doubt. The epitomistic principle of methodic doubt.
Yes, I'm talking about his work,
Mhm.
specific work. It was Treatise on Method. So, and he went too far. I read it a long time ago, so I cannot quote him precisely, but his doubt was going far from stoicism because he encouraged people to doubt in everything, like 2 + 2 = 4. So he was just for me, and he went too much far.
Yeah, for me too. I don't like Descartes. I think it was one of the changing things for me was when you hear Socrates with I know nothing, right? That was the principle. I know that I know nothing, which is I don't know. That's a proper skeptic, right? You giving up to the fact that you don't know anything, and Descartes changed it to I think, therefore I am, which seems very self-centered to me. I think that is the change into the don't worry about everybody else, don't worry about knowledge. You are you, and you can do whatever you want to. It's that one's pretty destructive to me, I think.
But this cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. This is only conclusion, because first part was I doubt, therefore I think. So for him, thinking is doubting. When you don't doubt, you don't think. So for me, quite weird.
Well, I think there's some truth to that.
Yeah.
Right. I think with a lot of these things, like you said, Paper, Descartes, and I agree as well, went too far. I think we're getting off track a little bit, but we'll bring it back in a second. But I think Descartes also went too far, but there are good things. At least I think Descartes had some good things. Like many philosophers do have some good things. But oftentimes where it leads them is gets a little bit off track for me too as well.
Yes, because this epoche, as was said just before, it was about doubting non-evident things. But
correct.
He encouraged people to doubt even evident things. So
right.
That's the point where he went out too far for me.
Yep.
One of the magicians, I think, that ruined, people's thoughts, that the modern day thought, just self.
Yeah, when you think about it, it's just one guy and his thoughts about things. Like, when you think about it now, people go and study and all of that. They literally look at what he's been taught. I mean, I don't know whether it's with an aid to make your own philosophy or just to study other philosophies, whether everything's already been done by all the old guys and you can only learn from them by readings. But I mean, I think that's maybe why we're in this state. The way I look at it, they're just dudes who had thoughts like everybody does.
Yeah. Especially these new guys, like you read some of this new stuff like Descartes and that, and you say, what? Or you say, yeah, okay, and? Those are the two things that I say when I read these guys. I say, what? And okay, and?
You've got to remember
the obvious.
Yeah, you've got to remember that, like, you're doing your job and doing whatever, right? Living your life. These guys, their job was to think about weird shit. And some of the minds nowadays can go to some pretty strange places. And within a philosophy, I mean, I think they've all been done, but everybody has their own now. Everybody makes their own stuff up in their own heads. And
I think therefore I am. What the hell does that? What is that? Like, should we praise that?
Like Paper said, that is the only that is the conclusion of a statement. But I mean, that's only what some guy said.
Yes. So full statement was: I doubt, therefore I think. I think, therefore I am.
Yeah, whoop-de-doo. I can say, yeah, I thought about it, and yes, indeed I am.
But I mean, that does bear to question, right? If you don't think, are you? Like, what are you?
But if you
But how can you be if you're not thinking? I mean, it's ridiculous, right?
Well, yeah. So I will say this: think of an NPC. You know what an NPC is?
Yeah.
It's
a non-player character.
Are they?
Right?
Yeah.
It's good. There you go. That is an example of I don't think, therefore I am not.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know what I am. Like, I literally don't know what I am.
Yep.
And by the way, if I doubt that I think, therefore I doubt that I am.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but hold on. You think he's the only guy that ever thought of that?
All right.
Therefore I am?
Yeah.
Like, seriously.
You know,
I bet
it's
you
good.
everybody in the world thought of that one, in his life.
These
I mean, come
statements are
on.
made, so we do have these conversations, right? That statement makes you think about it. Therefore, it's brilliant. Because it makes you put the
In that
words in
sense.
the orders, like Paper said. Like, just because you think, therefore you am. So if you're not thinking, what are you? Are you an am? Are you? It
No, you're
doesn't really
still
make any sense. It doesn't.
who you are. You're just
Yeah.
a non-thinker.
And then what is that? I mean, you can just go down the rabbit hole on this stuff, right? But then
Yeah, it's
you say,
nonsense.
yeah,
There's no
yeah. You
point.
say, well, if I don't think, well, what does that mean? If I don't think, does that mean is that someone who just blindly
You can't. You
believes
literally
absolutely
can't.
everything?
You can't do that without thinking.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you
It's
can't not think about something like that when you're talking about, well, what am I thinking? Do I think? It's like, yeah, of course you are. That's what you're doing right now.
what you're doing right now. Yeah, exactly.
But you don't realize you're
Exactly.
doing it, right? That's
So it's a nonsensical.
It is infinite regression. If you doubt
Yeah.
that you think, you have to think about your doubt, and you are looping just right now.
Yeah.
So it is going nowhere.
You know what I think?
That's
Yeah.
why I don't like this guy.
I think-
yeah. Go on.
Yeah. I think too much thinking produces guys like Dante. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Dante. I love it. Love it.
Right.
All
so
right, we could probably get back on
we're
track.
gonna go. Like forget about that modern shit. We're gonna go back, way back. Now this guy, he'll be Epicureanism. Is a system of philosophy, right? It's just based around this one guy and his thoughts. Don't know whether he wrote them down or whatever, or whether somebody imagined that this is what he was doing. Like we were talking the other day when they said about that guy that, well, we don't know whether he did study it, but this is studying that he might have done, because this is the time where he would have been with this guy as the teacher. Right, so the philosophy founded around 307, around. That seems ridiculous. Around 307 BC, based upon the teachings of an ancient Greek philosopher, Epicurus. Epicureanism was originally a challenge to Platonism. Later, its main opponent became Stoicism. Its main opponent. Platonism, that is. Not Epicureanism. Sort of a bit weird. So they're going against Plato. Now, if anybody's read any of the Plato or listened to him on audiobook, I particularly don't think Plato is old school. I think Plato is a play. It's the way that they made. Somebody was sat around watching what was going on, or the ideas of this. So Plato is an idea, a way that you can tell a story with all of this stuff embellished within it. Even he has a crack at the poets, where he is an actual poet. It's a double play to me. Very, very clever and very well done. In fact, flawlessly done. That's why I do like Plato, but I like it for the idea that you can see the plays that he's doing. He's literally making plays to shift people's minds, in my idea. And we'll be going over all of that sort of stuff.
I would say that he was perfect propagandist.
Yes. That's why I think it's wrote as propaganda after the time, in order to sway people back to this, to think that this time of old was a little bit weirder than what it was. It was, to me, their minds were sorted in the old days. And this is a way to just put a few. All you need to do is throw a little crack in order to make a crack, and everything else will do its own work within this. The mind, modern day minds anyway, lost to it. So the idea of the epoche is to induce ataraxia. And ataraxia is simply a state of you being at ease. It says Greek a negation, so it's a for taraxia, the disturbance or trouble. So it's the negation of a trouble, hence unperturbedness, generally translated as imperturbability. Wow. Equanimity or tranquility. That sounds a bit better. Tranquility is a Greek term first used in ancient Greek philosophy by Pyrrho and subsequently Epicurus and the Stoics for a lucid state of robust equanimity characterized by ongoing freedom from distress and worry. In a non-philosophical usage, the term was best used to describe the ideal mental state of soldiers entering battle. So this isn't just a philosophical thing. This is something that you can achieve as a state of being. This is beneficial. Where you just become at ease. It's I think it would be related to religion some way. A calmness, a sereneness. But it's literally not. It's just state of thought. It's a mental state that you can put yourself in by well. So was it this series? No, it wasn't. Was it? Where did we get to? Where was the? Oh, it was, there we go. So this is, Sextus Empiricus gave this detailed account of ataraxia. It says, we always say that as regards belief, i.e. dogma, do they have doxa? Would that be? We'll get there in a bit anyway. The Pyrrhonist goal is ataraxia, and that as regards things that are unavoidable, it is having moderate pathe. For when the Pyrrhonists set out to philosophize with the aim of assessing his Fantasiae, that is, of determining which are true and which are false, so as to achieve ataraxia. Right? So what the idea is to philosophize with the aim of assessing his Fantasiae. I don't know why women can't do it. Women can do this. But I bet women would go, like, what's the
Definitely.
use?
Women can do it.
With the that is right. So it's this Fantasiae. For some reason, I had this thing open and I ended up clicking on this. So this is Fantasia. This is brought to us by the Logos. So I may as well read this all out, right? In Fantasiae, in Hellenistic philosophy, the term Fantasiae. Can you read that, Essie? That Greek?
Yeah, but it's spelled weirdly. If
Yeah.
it's Fantasia, it means like fantasy.
Yeah, that's sort of, right? We'll get there, right? It is information based on sense experience. Plato described Fantasia as a blend of perception and doxa. Right, we'll just have a quick look at this doxa. Doxa, ancient Greek, to appear, to seem, to think, to accept. It is a common belief or popular opinion.
Received opinion?
Doxa. Yeah, that's the received opinion.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's the received opinion. In classical rhetoric, doxa is contrasted with episteme, knowledge, right? So it's the opposite of knowledge. Dogma. Doxa is what they're calling it. Doxa. Doxa.
That's
It is,
probably pronounced Doxa.
Yeah, here it is there. Can you say it with a...
No, I can't. Is there a PH there somewhere?
No. It's
No.
like it's a O with a little
A line over
tangent
it.
lifted.
Mhm.
Of course.
from verb dokein or zokein.
Yeah. Dokeen. To appear, to seem, to think, to accept. Between the 3rd and 1st centuries BCE, the term picked up an additional meaning when the biblical Hebrew word of glory was translated by the Septuagint. Septuagint. As doxa. The translation of Hebrew scriptures made the early church, causing the term to be frequently used in the New Testament. The term is also used in the worship services of the Greek or Orthodox Church, where the glorification of God in true worship is also seen as a true belief that in that context, doxa reflects behavior or practice in worship.
Yeah, it is. This is why this is all so logos, right? What have we been saying about certain groups of people that come in with their beliefs and their religion and their zealotry, right? This is it. This is it. Doxa is belief or popular opinion, which you then turn into dogma, which then becomes a religion. They don't like to be told that it's a religion, but it is a religion. It's used in the religion that I subscribe to happily because I know that is I have a faith. That faith is a belief. I believe it to be true.
Yeah,
But
but
that is
they
different
want
than
to try
knowing.
and they want to try and change it as well, don't they? Within the use
Yes,
of the
indeed.
words into
Yes,
a
indeed.
true belief,
Yes.
which is sort of slightly different. But again, that's people trying to use these words from the old to renew it into, like, well, it can't be that. I want it to mean this. So now we're going to call it this. Like you said, in some translations of different books. I mean, but this is
definitely
this is important. I think when we were talking about Timaeus, I was getting that confused. This is the Gorgias. In the Socratic dialogue, the Gorgias, please. If you've heard me talking about Timaeus, I was talking about Gorgias, and because I have actually listened to Timaeus recently. It's not Gorgias. It's different. But like Plato presents doxa in that, right, as showing dogma. Just to get the idea, because people have different ideas now of what's dogma and what's doxa and what's all of this sort of stuff that you take on. It's something you're taking on as a truth, but you don't actually have the knowledge or the knowing that it is a truth. It's just something that's been handed to you and you have accepted it. It's gone through that mental process in your brain and you've just put it on the side. Accepted. All right. We try and get rid of that. That's the idea of this. All right, I'll go back out of that. So that looks like they've messed about with that word as well. And you always know when there's a lot of stuff wrote about it, needs looking into, and we will, obviously, I think. Fantasia, where were we?
under the Stoic philosopher down at the bottom in the indented portion.
No, we didn't do this one, did we?
Oh, did we get that? We didn't get
No,
that
I
far.
don't think we
Oh no,
did.
you
Yeah, I
didn't.
only got the
Third paragraph down.
no
Yeah,
Plato.
third paragraph down.
Another thing I need to say about
Go on.
He cut out. He may have
cut
gotten a
out.
call. Yep.
I gotta say one more word about doxa, right? Doxa, which is doxa. Sometimes in Greek we say doxa to theo, like give praise to God.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
it has like a serious meaning.
Yes, that is what Bev was reading there before about glorification, the glorification of God or glory. That's what that is. That's
Yes,
what
the
doxa is.
part,
Glorification.
Exactly.
Yeah.
for
Exactly.
example, part of the Mass is Gloria in Excelsis Deo. This
Yes.
part, it is called Great Doxology.
Yep.
And there is, after some time in the Mass, there is small doxology. So, yes, in that sense, praise God, praising God.
But that
So,
it could be in the translation, like it says, because somebody translated a word as doxa. That's why it's took on that particular name or whatever within the Bible.
yes, because
Yes.
they translated and they used that word as most approximate to what it would mean. This Greeks in Septuaginta, because sometimes they cannot translate literally, for example, from Hebrew, so they were forced to use the most approximate or proper word in Greek.
Yeah.
So,
Remember that for those people that aren't biblically inclined, right? The if you've heard of the Old Testament and then the New Testament, right? The Old Testament was written in Hebrew, and the New Testament was written in Greek. So anytime in the New Testament where they're referring back to the Old Testament writings, there has to be a translation between the Hebrew and the Greek, as paper is saying. And for that word, doxa or thoxa, that comes up in Greek, that is a word that's used in the Greek for the New Testament, but it's referring back
Even
to
now.
even now. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. But that's referred back to the as a translation of the Hebrew. So yeah, I mean, when you're dealing with translations, but the idea here is still valid. That in my faith, right? Paper has a similar faith, right? We give glory to God, we give praise to God. That's doxa. However, what they're saying here is when you take it out of the religious realm for a second, right? The Christian realm or the Jewish realm, Hebrew realm, and then you say, what I believe in is doxa. That is, I give glory or praise to what I believe. That is what it is. That is why you folks have heard me say there's certain people that come in and I call them religious zealots because they have a doxa on a certain belief that they hold without the actual knowledge of what that means.
yes,
That's
but
so the word still stands as it is. That's what it is. People applying a glorification or a praise to a belief.
yes, but this belief, as Doxa says, it is received. It is not
Correct.
that you conjured yourself your own religion or your own dogma,
Yep.
and this is I am zealot about my thought. It is received by someone else, for example, like New Testament or apostles or whatever.
Correct.
But this is not your conjurement.
Yeah, that's a translation for in modern, like say, call it modern Bible, but this is from a time before that, right? So whoever
Yes.
translated it used this word from old to
Yes.
place it into the Bible within the
Correct.
translation. So
That is right.
yeah. So this, you've got to try and completely forget about any sort of normal stuff that you have, your religious knowings of this word, because this one comes from before that time. But no doubt there's some sort of link to it in that way, I guess.
Definitely. Well, you see
Yeah,
that what they have in parenthesis there where you left off, right?
Well, let's see how they used it. How the
Yeah,
ancient-
you see it right there. It's in parenthesis,
Yeah.
judgment or opinion. Doxa
Yeah,
or doxa, judgment or / opinion.
yeah. That's Plato, right?
Yeah,
So
Plato.
that's a slightly bit more modern time from this, because we're talking about Aristotle, Plato, and the modern ones. So if we take Plato as being modern propaganda placed in between a couple of these bits just to upset the apple cart a little bit, then Plato has an opinion, judgment. Let's go back to Aristotle, right? Aristotle placed Fantasia between perception and thought. For Aristotle, Fantasia is based on sense perception, and that includes mental images, dreams, and hallucinations.
What did I tell you? Fantasy.
There you go.
But yes,
Yes.
right? When you think of this, Aristotle's talking about mental images, the things that you see, dreams, obviously when you're sleeping. I mean, I'm the same. I think if I ever dream, which I don't, but it would always be because there was something that I didn't sort out. Right? You remember it because there's something that wasn't righted in your head. You had a conflict, and that dream's trying to tell you that. And the hallucinations, right? Now, Aristotle didn't just go around hallucinating shit, because that's not a sane mental state. He's talking about using drugs to achieve these other realms, to see visions. That he's taking perceptions of all of these things in as a doxa, right? Everything. And until you can actually verify it, it's got to be considered within this realm of epoche.
You would hope, right?
Yeah, that's the idea of Aristotle. I think that's where Aristotle's going with this, doxa.
Well, because the other option is that the mental image of the sense perception, right, as is discussed there, the mental images, the dreams or hallucinations, then you think they're real.
Yeah.
Right, and that gets to certain psychoses and all sorts of things where you think a hallucination is actually real, actually happening to you, or a dream is real, right, or a mental image of something is real, is actual reality.
Yeah.
Sound familiar to anybody?
Yeah, so I can recognize three sources. Mental images is linked to reality. Dreams, yeah.
No, I wouldn't say so. I'd say a mental image is like getting a thought that your missus is cheating on you, right? And so you're getting the mental image of something bad happening, right? You're not actually seeing it. It's just a mental image of something.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is knowledge. For example, if you have seen square or cube, you can create a mental image of this of this object, and not only a picture in your brain, but a picture of your knowledge about this subject, like cube. That this has 6 sides.
But that is knowledge. I think this is what we're particularly talking about, is the Fantasia, right? It's in the realm of undiscoverable. If it is known, then that you're not talking about Fantasia, I don't think.
Well, you're not talking about something that is that is actually real, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's like a ghost. It's got the same root word as a phantom. or phantasm. It's a ghost. It's not real. But your
Yes,
sense perception says it looks real. Like you just said, paper, right? You can picture a cube in your mind, but you can't grab it, can you?
of course you know.
Because it's not real.
It's not. I would say it is real, but in this your mental reality, but not in physical reality.
Right.
I think that he used that words like mental image because it is linked with his theory of three-part subtraction or abstraction from because it is his theory of how we gain knowledge about things. So it is three-part abstraction, and this last abstraction is mental abstraction. First is physical, second is mathematical abstraction, and then metaphysical or mental, just intellectual abstraction. So I think that this is linked with his theory of cognition.
I think you'll see again, the word that we're looking at here is Fantasia, if that's pronounced correctly. That's based on sense perception. So you got to keep that in mind here as we go through this.
Yeah.
Buster's gonna like what's coming up.
Yeah, I know
Oh,
it. He's
yeah.
not here. That's we told him
You
he's not
seen?
here. Hopefully
You
he's
seen
listening.
that part, huh?
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
Information received.
Yeah. Given to us as a gift, right? So the Pyrrhonist, Epicureans, and the Stoics use the term to refer to information received through the senses and arising in thoughts. That's and arising in thoughts.
But listen, information received through the senses.
Yeah,
Through the
and
senses.
arising in thoughts.
Yeah.
So like all of these three groups, the Pyrrhonists, Epicureans, and the Stoics, all consider the term Fantasiae as information received, right? In translations of Pyrrhonist texts, the term is usually rendered as appearances, but in translations of Stoic texts, there is no consensus how to translate the term with appearance, impression, presentation, and representation, all in use. So it's an all-encompassing word for anything that you sort of imagine.
Yep.
How's that?
Yep.
That's all this is. This is dealing with your imagination.
Gut. I think you said it earlier, right? Gut.
Yeah.
Your gut.
Well, I mean that'll come into it.
But still, we are talking about ancient times. They didn't have internet, television.
Yeah.
So if they are talking about senses, it means that what you actually see with your own eyeballs, not through some media or whatever.
Yeah, but
So
in those times, since they're talking about Plato and all that, they definitely had plays. And all of these stories that people tell are all built into this, right? Because you can take your mind to these places when people tell a story. When you're reading a book, this is what happens to your mind. You can be taken away to these places within this Fantasia. Right?
Yes, but this received through the senses, it would be that it would mean that through text. So from what someone said, so it would be rather belief, because if you are here listening to someone and you are believing him, it's still believe because you believe what he said, that it is true. But referring to senses, for me, it is like you just see something like object.
Yeah, well, remember, seeing is not the only sense, right? you have feeling,
Yes, yes,
you
yes.
have smells, right? You have taste, you have all of that, and all of that goes into your brain, and you will have an emotional response to those things.
Yes, of course, I don't deny that,
Okay.
but if we are talking about that place, like Plato place or drama place in ancient Greek, so it is not hearing, because if you can hear, for example, drops of the water tapping on the floor, so you are hearing the object, physical object, causing some mm, noise. But if we are talking about who and what said to you to believe, that's, for me, this is not about senses itself. Of course, we have to hear what some person said, but we are processing with our mental thoughts what he is saying to us, and this is not just referring to just senses, mere senses. So I would say that they were talking about just senses, that we have information through senses, and that creates image in our memory, and it is similar to dream and hallucination, because of course you can say that you really see. For example, when I was young, I could really see my dreams. So it was so real that I was when I was awakened, I just couldn't believe that this was not real, because it was so real for me. Now
Right.
I am old and I sleep without dreams.
Now, now you're getting there. I think we're in agreement as to what Fantasia is getting at. It is that feeling, right? That through the senses, whatever that is, whether it's seeing or whatever that you're getting, but it's still not. It's still either a hallucination or a dream or something in your mind, right? It is not not
It's not the
yet
thing.
the thing, right?
Yeah,
The actual thing.
Yeah.
You'll see as we go through this. It's fantastic.
The Stoics have a nice way of putting it.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay. In Epicureanism, fantasi, is that all right? Fantasi are all true. What was that?
Fantasiae.
Fantasiae.
Yes.
Fantasiae.
Yeah, that doesn't
Don't
sound
break-
right, man.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound right. Well, I'm gonna look into that word.
Yeah, you find us the proper way to say it. Are all true, but opinions, doxa, are not all true. Of course, of opinions, then, according to Epicurus, some are true and some are false. The true are those that testify for and not against the evidence of sense, and the false, those that testify against and not for that evidence.
Does that remind you?
Yeah,
of
I'll
a
read
situation?
that again, because I don't know whether I got it properly. Right, in Epicureanism, fantasiae are all true, right? These are all true. In this guy, right? This guy had logos flowing through him. For every reason, every dream, every sense that this guy felt, they're all true. Which is, that's pretty eye-opening, right?
Definitely.
When these things that he gets from Logos are true, but opinions, Doxa, are not all true. Of opinions, then, according to Epicurus, some are true and some are false. The true are those that testify for and not against. the evidence of sense, and the false, those that testify against and not for that evidence. So, if you see something and you have a feeling that something is like the opposite of what you see, that's a false doxa, false opinion, right? It's something that he wouldn't go with, right? That he would know that's false because you're looking at it and it doesn't, right? Whatever the feelings are, for whatever reason, you're going against what your senses tell you. That is done quite often by a lot of people, and probably more so now. You going against your senses. Go on.
Like, for example, that we are living on rotating Earth, and nobody feels that.
Going against your senses, right? Yeah. Or, I mean, just taking it out of that realm, right? You say, there again, the old adage, right? Everybody's heard, trust your instincts. Trust your instincts. What I think what he's saying, what's being said here is, if your instincts, if what you're seeing or what you're told doesn't match your instincts, then what does SE say? I don't know about that. I smell something fishy. I got to think about that for a while. And then you hold your assent. You say, yeah, I'm hearing that you're giving me that opinion, that doxa, but it's not matching my Fantasia, my feeling on this. I think I'll withhold my assent on that and stay in Epoche.
I was just gonna say, nicely done, bro.
Right?
Epoche, right there, yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
That's why this these sort of conversations we have, I think, are brilliant, right? These words and these ideas that you can withhold your assent, because there's something tells you like that's not right. Something like I need to ask some questions. I need to find out a little bit more information, which is exactly how I came into this, and I'm pretty sure it's exactly why most people are in here now listening to us. They have questions. Everybody has questions. It's how these people answer to your questions, right? Can you resolve that Fantasia?
When you read the part of you go against your senses, and I was saying, geez, that's exactly what the people we talk to, that's exactly what they want us to do. Like when they say, well, you can't feel 1,000 miles an hour. What's the matter with you? What? Excuse me? It's like perfectly said. These are the people we deal with. They want us to go against our senses, and when we don't, they call us crazy.
Yeah, and accept their doxa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
They wanting to do a wizard trick, right? They wanting to hand you that and make you accept it.
Yeah.
And then go on.
But by the way, Fantasia, this is this letter I on the end, I think, because this is plural. So I'm not sure.
Does it become silent?
No, I don't think
The
it
I?
becomes silent. I don't think it becomes silent. No, I think you pronounce it, right?
Fantasiae.
Yeah, you do pronounce it.
Fantasiae?
Yeah.
Doesn't sound right, man.
Plural. I'm with you, Paper. I think you're right. I think it's the plural of Fantasia. I think you're right.
I think, but this is not. I'm not very good in Greek, the declination and this orthographic things, but I think it would be plural. That's
we only have one expert in Greek around here, and it's not me.
I'm hardly an expert if you're referring to me. I know just basic Greek, and most of that I forgot. So.
So that's Epicureanism. That's Epicureanism. What's the Stoics have to say?
Okie dokie. In Stoicism,
they're the best.
The Fantasiae represent precognitive judgments.
Precognitive.
Yeah.
Precognitive. Precognitive. Everybody know what that means? Cognitive? What's cognitive?
Cognitive is a
Precognitive.
thought, isn't it? It's
Yep.
it's
Yep.
the cogs of your, but it's pre.
Pre
Yeah.
that. So it's
Pre-thought.
before pre-thought. Yeah.
Pre-thought
that in mind.
judgments originating from our previous experiences. Right? An experience forms in your mind, and this is where that epoche comes from. You have to be able to release that earlier. Otherwise, precognitive judgments, they're there already. You may not be aware of them. Okay. In Stoicism, the Fantasiae represent precognitive judgments originating from our previous experiences or our subconscious thinking. Subconscious thinking. Like stuff that's under your cognition. You don't even know about it. Thinking without thinking. That's amazing to me, that if they know this is how magicians work. This is how wizards literally trick you. And you've got to have a sense of all understanding of this. At least if you know it exists, then you can be aware of it, hopefully. Because there are people that aren't even aware of all of this sort of stuff, that literally try and use all of this Doxa and stuff.
Definitely.
Yeah. All physiological states and activities such as mental assent, cognition, impulse, and knowledge are all either extensions or responses to Fantasia. The founder of Stoicism, Zeno, defined a Fantasia. See, this is Zeno, right? If anybody knows Zeno, Zeno's the guy that works the magic. He literally plays with this sort of stuff. I would say Zeno in Plato, two tricksters that have been put in after the fact. Zeno defined a Fantasia as an imprinting in, well, God, some Pokemon. Does anyone know that? An imprinting two poses in the
hegemonicon.
Hegemonicon. Commanding faculty. What?
That was
Have got
good,
any
Paper.
idea of what that is, Paper? Can you expand on it? Because there's no blue link or anything.
Hegemon, it means I think in English, hegemon, it is, I cannot explain what, you know that word in English, hegemon?
No.
It is someone who prevails, is great
Homogeneity?
and commander or duke or someone who is in charge and has power, I think.
Yeah. It's like there's an ancient word. What is it?
Hegemon.
It's like king. It's like king or leader or commander, that kind of thing. Which is probably why they have commanding faculty. You're leading thoughts. You're commanding faculty.
Wow. Well,
It's an imprinting. It's an imprinting in your commanding faculty, in your conscious thought. I think that's what that is.
Yeah. So it literally is a way for them to put thoughts in your head. Right?
Yeah.
Within this, if you can know how to command this within other people, you can literally place thoughts into people's commanding faculty, right? You can imprint.
Look at the next next sentence.
He suggested that the soul is imprinted by the senses, much in the same way as a signet ring imprints its shape in a soft wax, right? So he's suggesting that the people you hang around with and the thoughts and the things that they get you to imagine can literally imprint things into your mind, puts them in there. which I think we've just recently reversed the tables here with logic and geometry. You can't get it out of your mind once this sort of starts. And once the mind starts, the cogs start ticking and it starts whirring around, it can't be released. You can't get rid of it. The Stoics held that some Fantasiae received assent and some do not. Assent is the acceptance, right?
Yep, that's the acceptance.
So again, they've changed words, and now I don't know why they do that. Like, why do they say it receives assent rather than acceptance within the mind? Or, you know, like, they don't let you know what these means. It means, where were we? Stoics receive assent and some do not. Assent occurs when the mind accepts a Fantasiae as true. According to the Stoics, Doxa is a weak or false belief. The sage avoids a doxa by withholding assent. When conclusions do not permit a clear and certain grasp of the truth of a matter. That makes sense. Right? If you can't see an outcome that makes sense and you can't choose which way, then you just literally withhold assent. You can't say what the truth of the matter is, so you just reserve judgment. The sage avoids doxa by withholding assent when conditions do not permit a clear and certain grasp of the truth of a matter. Some Fantasiae experienced in perceptually ideal circumstances, however, are so clear and distinct that they could only come from a real object. These were said to be
Cataleptic.
Cataleptica. That sounds
like catalepsia, cataleptic.
Oh, right. Okay, dokie. Fit to grasp. The cataleptic Fantasia compels assent by its very clarity and represents the criterion of truth. Now, this to me is what I call logos. But I guess you could call it whatever you want.
Yep.
You just literally, you receive clarity. Everything fits at that moment. And that is like, you just have a realization, right? I think that's what it is. It's where all of the pieces come together and you go, oh yeah, I get it now.
Yep.
And these things can come to you in a conversation that somebody else is having, a conversation that you're having, something that you've listened to, or maybe, boom, just comes to you. Who knows where these things come from? But that's what they're talking about here. These Fantasiae, right, could be a warning, could be. That's why I think they say they're all true. The Stoics, anyway. I mean, everybody has different ideas about this, and I'm guessing each individual will have their own ideas about how this works or whatever. The Stoic philosopher. Oh, do you want to have a look at the criterion of truth, or we go back to that?
Yeah, hit it up. And we're going to have to hit up the K word there as well, I think.
Oh, well, I don't think that as well. Okay, we'll go to that in a bit. In epistemology, criteria of truth or tests of truth are standards and rules used to judge the accuracy of statements and claims. They are tools of verification, and in as in the problem of the criterion, the reliability of these tools is disputed. Understanding of philosophy's criteria of truth is fundamental to a clear evaluation of that philosophy. This necessity is driven by the varying and conflicting claims of different philosophies. The rules of logic have no ability to distinguish truth on their standards, on their own. An individual must determine what standards distinguish truth from falsehood. Not all criteria are equally valid. Some standards are sufficient while others are questionable. Wow. The criteria listed
I would
represent
disagree. I would disagree with that.
Well, obviously, this has been wrote after the fact. I mean, it's like the criteria of truth. We've now got parallel, paraconsistent logic, haven't we?
I disagree with this sentence. The rules of logic have no ability to distinguish truth on their own. I disagree with this.
Yeah,
Because
me too.
logic has this power
Yeah,
to distinguish truth from false.
yeah. That's why we say you've got to watch out. This is only wiki, and this is somebody's wrote this down. Now, if they have paraconsistent logics, you can't have logic being able to have truth. It's just not possible. Because that logic's different than the other logic, and the other logic has two truths. So how can you determine which one is true in that other new logic that they've made up? But
You are armless, because if logic cannot tell you the truth or false, what is false and true, then you cannot distinguish, and you only have to believe someone, for example, because you cannot criticize someone's statement to be true or false, because you cannot use logic, and that logic, paraconsistent logic. But in fact, Aristotle, of course, determined that your logic, your thought is determining and distinguishing what is true and false. This logic thinking.
yeah, I'd be completely with you on that. I mean, there is obviously a truth, and how you derive at that truth is with a mental process, and that mental process is laid out logically. If it isn't, if it's laid out illogically, then you're never going to be able to find a truth. So if you do away with logic finding truth, then you do away with truth. Proof, per se. And there are, as we know, there are people who do want to do away with proof. So the criteria of truth, like the problem of the criterion, that's where they start messing about with stuff. I don't think there's any need for us to go into that just yet. We can, obviously. Authority. The opinions of those with significant experience, highly trained, or possessing an advanced degree are often considered a form of proof. Their knowledge and familiarity within a given field or area of knowledge command respect and allow their statements to be criteria of truth. A person may not simply declare themselves of an authority. Oh, shit. But rather must be properly qualified. Despite the wide respect given to their expert testimology, it is not an infallible criterion. For example, multiple authorities may conflict with their claims and conclusions.
Yes, I am Professor Bullshit, and I am telling the truth.
Yes. Yeah, look at all of my works I've wrote down. I've been tweeting for years. Consistency, look at this. You know when they've messed around. This is, wow. That's for the criterion of truth. All of these different ways that they try and... I feel sorry for students trying to study this sort of stuff. where did we get to? The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said this about Fantasia. Impressions, which philosophers call something in Greek, Fantasiae, by which man's mind, or lady, woman, or they, them, mind is struck at first sight of anything that reaches his intellect, are not under his will or control, but thrust themselves on the recognition of men or women by a certain force of their own. But the assents, which they call, is that Cataleptic? I don't know what that is. Which they call
No. This
something.
is different.
Does anyone know what that is? But the assents. So this is the ones that they accept. By which these impressions are recognized as voluntary and depend on a man's control. Therefore, when some fearful sound of thunder or a falling house or sudden news of some danger or other, or something else of this sort happens, even the wise man is bound to be moved for a while and shrink and grow pale, not from anticipation of any evil, but from a rapid and unconsidered movements forestalling the action of the rational mind. Presently, however, the wise man does not assent to such impressions and repels them, does not think that there is anything formidable in them. And this, they say, is the difference between the wise man and the fool. That the fool thinks that the impressions which at first strike him as harsh and cruel are really such, and as they go on approves with them with his own assent and confirms them by his own opinion, as if they were really formidable. I don't even know what that is. Something is the phrase the Stoics use in discussing this. While the wise man, after showing emotion in colour and complexion for a brief moment, does not give his assent, but keeps the opinions which he has always held about such impressions firm and strong, as of the things which do not really deserve to be feared at all, but only inspire an empty, fictitious terror. I think that's brilliant. Fear, again, like they really do. In modern times, they play on the fear. And the wise man...
A lot. They playing a lot.
That one's a bit more poignant. Alice Gellius described the Pyrrhonist view as follows. They say that in appearances, which they call Fantasiae, are produced from all objects, not according to the nature of the objects themselves, but according to the condition of mind or body of those to whom these appearances come. Therefore, they call absolutely all things that affect man's sense. What's that? Things relative to something else. So therefore, they call absolutely all things that affect man's sense things relative to something else. You in relation to, right? Relative.
Yes.
This expression means that there is nothing at all that is self-dependent or which has its own power and nature, but that absolutely all things have reference to something else and seem to be such as there is appearance is while they are seen, and such they are formed by our senses to whom they come, not by the things themselves from which they have proceeded. This view is similar to the Buddhist doctrine of dependent origin. Puranists maintain that Fantasiae cannot be relied upon to present reality. Fantasiae just appear to be real.
So he's talking about perception
Mhm.
generally, that this is your own subjective. So
That's the Pyrrhonist view.
Yes, but it means that, for example, same thing in different circumstances can be perceived completely different. So that's I think that this paragraph was about that something which is related to other thing in different way, you will perceive in different way. And when it is associated with something else, you will perceive it differently also.
I think that seems to be the end of this. Do we need to go over something? What was the other one that we needed to go over?
That was that K word thing. Did we do that?
Catalepsis.
Catalepsis.
Yeah. In Stoic philosophy meant comprehension. To the Stoic philosophers, catalepsis was an important premise regarding one's state of mind as it relates to grasping fundamental philosophical concepts, and it represents the Stoic solution to the problem of the criterion. They had a problem of the criterion, truth. According to the Stoics, the mind is constantly being bombarded with impressions, Fantasiae. An impression arising from the mind was called a phantasma, fantasy. An impression arising from the mind was called a phantasma.
Yes, I think in psychiatry it is a term also used that, or was, that this is your false image, for example, that is chasing you. And for example, some people may fear that because they are actually seeing, for example, horrible monster, and they are afraid. They are screaming that they are afraid. So this would be phantasma.
Yeah.
Today we also use the word phantasma to mean a ghost.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Just saying.
An impression arising from the mind.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Similar sort of things. Some of these impressions are true and some are false. Impressions are true when they are truly affirmed. False if they are wrongly affirmed, such as when one believes an oar dipped in the water to be broken because it appears so. That's a good one.
That's a really good one.
When Orestes, in his madness, mistook Electra for a furry. He had an impression both true and false. True inasmuch as he saw something with Electra. False inasmuch as Electra was not a furry. Believing in the mind instinctively discriminated between real and false impressions. The Stoics said that one ought not to give credit to everything which is perceived, but only to those perceptions which contain some special mark of those things which appeared. Such a perception was then called a cataleptic fantasia, Greek, or comprehensible perception. The cataleptic fantasia is that which is impressed by an object which exists and which is a copy of that object and can be produced by no other object. That makes sense, right? Cicero. Oh, good. Cicero relates that Zeno would illustrate catalepsis as follows. That, like, I mean, let's go over that again. Cicero, like he's well trusted. Like everybody knows Cicero. He was,
of course.
Yeah, well, he's one of the most trusted people around. And he relates that Zeno would illustrate. Like, what does that even mean? He would display his hand in front of one with the fingers stretched out and say, "A visual appearance is like this." Next, he closed his fingers a little and said, "An act of assent is like this." Then he pressed his fingers closely together and made a fist and said, "That was a comprehension." And from this illustration, he gave to that process the actual name of catalepsis, which it had not had before. But then he used to apply his left hand to his right hand fist and squeeze it tightly and forcibly, and then say that such was knowledge, which was within the power of nobody save the wise man. Yeah, Zeno and Cicero were both mad. Doesn't make any sense at all, does it?
Very little to me.
Quite complicated. But
Yeah.
I would defend in some case Cicero because he was not not a thief politician as many of his contemporary fellows.
He would display his hand in front with one with the fingers stretched out and say, "A visual appearance is like this." Next, he closed his fingers a little and said, "An act of assent is like this." Doesn't make any sense. Like, what? Is it a little bit closed off? I don't get that.
Maybe that he tried to express in that way that your comprehension is it's this Fantasia is compressed or condensed, so it's maybe that's why he's comparing it from open hand to closed hand, because the closed hand is more compressed. I don't know, maybe that way.
What I would say, about this paragraph is you probably had to be there.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd
Right?
say, like, why did they bother writing it? You know, like, whoever wrote that in there thought that that was a meaningful thing within it to explain. I don't know. I know I wouldn't trust Zeno with anything. He'd be probably trying to play a trick on you. Catalepsis was the main bone of contention between the Stoics and the two schools of philosophical skepticism during the Hellenistic periods. The Pyrrhonistics and the academic skeptics of Plato's academy. These skeptics who chose the Stoics as their natural philosophical opposites skewed much of what the Stoics believed regarding the human mind and one's method of understanding greater meanings. To the skeptics, all perceptions were acapellectic, i.e., bore no conformity to the object perceived, or if they did bear any conformity, it could never be known. To the skeptics, all perceptions were cataleptic.
So they were like agnostics. So that kind of skepticism, like agnosticism, don't rely on your senses at all, doubt everything. So like René Descartes.
Yeah. Yes. Throw away that. Everything beforehand. I don't know. Okay. Obviously, they're talking about perceptions rather than, or are they Do you reckon they? It sounds like they're talking about the perception of cup, but I don't think they can't be talking about. They must be talking about things within the mind, like dreams or things like that. Whereas, I think what's it called? It's the other guys. They must think that there's something to be gained from these insights, these things that come to you. One group of people seem to think it's useful, and then other groups of people say, well, no, it's just imaginings. Woo, right? How many people have done that?
Right. That's that's what I get from this, is that and maybe all of these, I don't know, maybe as you look at it, the academic skeptics may have been like Descartes, and maybe the Pyrrhonists were in the middle. Sounds like they were very in the middle types of people to me, as I've looked at it. And then the Stoics were like the other end of it. And I have my own problems with Stoicism. Again, I think there's some good stuff, but I think, like to your point, Bev, about Zeno, what I've looked at, yeah, no bueno as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Right. But other people might have a different thought about it. But as it relates to this idea of catalepsis, I think you're right on that the Stoics would say there's some
What's up with
value in
Zeno?
it.
What's that?
What's up with him?
He's a trickster.
Yeah, Zeno. I agree with Bev. I think Zeno was very much a tricky guy.
It's just about everything you read about him is he always trying to undo things, paradoxes. That's the original paradox was given by Zeno. They're not, but obviously they need somebody to put that sort of thing into these olden times. It'd have been smack shitless out of there. Really. I don't think they would have played any of that shit with Zeno. Yeah. It's only been placed in there so modern day people can come up with these sort of ridiculous arguments that have no sense and no meaning. They're not real sort of things. It's just somebody throwing a stick in the cog or whatever.
Yeah, and as it relates to this Fantasia or whatever,
yeah,
it seems to me that, at least what I'm drawing from in my mind, the conclusion here is that these different philosophical camps, if you will, the Stoics thought there was some value in it in Fantasia, and the Pyrrhonists, I think, would say, yeah, kind of middle of the road for me. Probably a lot of maybe some value, maybe a lot of not value. And I think the academic skeptics, like that I consider Descartes to be, would be much more of a yeah, there's no value in that at all. Like your gut, right? There's no value in it at all.
Yeah. Yeah, whereas the way I look at these sort of things is, if something happens and my mind says, oh, I wonder why that, there's normally something behind it, right? Like the very fact that we're going over this stuff today was by a strange things that I could have just skipped over, but I didn't. I asked a question which led to more. And that's where I think there can be, you can always gain something from these ideas that come to you. It depends how you want to use them and what benefits you can try and gain from them. Like this whole night tonight is all based around one of these particular circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
Right? These are things that the way I look at this now is these are things that come to you, whether it be in a dream or whatever, right? So if you wake up in the morning and go, I had a really weird dream, right? If you think that to yourself and think nothing else of it, then it means nothing. But if something compels you to say something to somebody about it, well, it perhaps may hold more within it, at least for the conversation that comes from that discussion. And I think that's it. It all depends on how you want to deal with how you think these things come to you. Now, to me, I'd say they are all ideas, right? They're conversation points. Now, you either verbalize them and bring them out, or you don't.
Yep.
But you'll never know what comes of it if you don't verbalize these thoughts, right? If you don't entertain the conversations, you're never going to know what could have happened for all of these things. And like they say, with the Epoche, you reserve judgment. There's no need for you to be coming to any conclusion because somebody, because you voiced something to somebody else in a question form. Nobody's going to say you have to take anything on as anything. You just do what you can within it. I think this is a conversational piece that should be ongoing with these words and how we all come to use them, right? The discussion should commence from all of these things. I'm not telling anybody anything what to do or anything. These are just ideas from antiquity, really. The way the minds used to work back then. Call it simple, but I mean, it's obviously not. It's way more complex than we ever thought. And these are meant to be back at 300 BC. And they're already thinking about things that we don't. Now, in modern day, with the TV and all of that, has that stopped us from needing to do this? Back then, obviously, let's presume they didn't have TVs and videos and films and all of that, but they would have had plays and people telling stories. People telling stories of experiences. Some may be true, some may not be true. May be massive embellishment in them, but these stories were wrote down, and obviously for some reason, all of this ancient stuff, I like the idea of going into this stuff. What do you reckon?
Yeah. I agree with you. I was just distracted because someone in the live chat, Savage Dressing, says, I assume most who are into skepticism would already be aware, but if you read outlines of Pyrrhonism, you would get a very good understanding of the philosophy. So I just looked that up. I just got a link. It's in the Trivium. I don't know how long you want to go on this thing, and I really haven't read it, but there was a couple interesting paragraphs in the link in the Trivium. If you wanted to go in there real quickly and bring it up. This was a suggestion from someone in the live chat. No idea what this is. Look, just cursory read looks more interesting if you're into philosophies and those kinds of things.
How far do you want us to read?
Oh, I don't know. I just looked at a couple of the titles, to be honest. just a couple of the paragraph headings. The main difference between philosophical systems, down in the after the first bottom of the right of the first page, going into the second page. If you go back to the first page there, and then scroll to the right, you'll see the chapter 7. Does the skeptic dogmatize? That's interesting.
When we say that the skeptic refrains from dogmatizing, we do not use the term dogma as some do, in the broader sense of approval of a thing. For the skeptic gives assent to the feelings which are the necessary results of sense impressions. And he would not, for example, say when feeling hot or cold, I believe that I am not hot or cold. But we say that he does not dogmatize, using dogma in the sense from which some give it, of assent to one of the non-evident objects of scientific inquiry.
So that means, so that's interesting, because it means, I think that's the person here is getting at what dogma actually means. So if someone says, well, I have this feeling that I'm hot, or I have this feeling that I'm cold, just because I say that and I believe that I'm hot or I'm cold doesn't necessarily mean you're dogmatic about it. And I would agree with that. That would be foolish to think that someone that says that they're hot or they're cold because of their impression or their feeling. I mean, couples have that argument all the time. I'm freezing. Why do we have it so cold in here? And the other person will say, I'm hot. I don't know what you're talking. Anybody that their wife is going through or gone through menopause knows what I'm talking about. It's like, I am freezing my ass off in here. And my wife goes, well, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm hot. But it's certainly not dogma, but it is an impression or a feeling. Could be different for different people.
Yeah. Assent to one of the non-evident objects of scientific inquiry. That's scientific inquiry.
But for me, this is strange because this is here. It is said about feelings. How feelings can be in scientific inquiry. So this is so subjective, and all can admit that these subjective feelings cannot be systematized or generalized. So for me, this is strange. This what this author who is writing about that, because how I cannot see that how a feeling can be in scientific inquiry.
Well, it depends on what you mean by scientific inquiry, right?
Yes,
or what is meant by that term. Yeah, exactly. Because is it scientific to determine why someone might say that they're hot or cold? I don't know, right? But
you would be after the knowledge whether it is hot or it is cold, right? And I think that's what they're talking about there within the feelings, right? The hot or the cold, you feel it, hot or cold. You can't be skeptical of whether it's hot or cold. You don't need to be skeptical of that sort of stuff within this system.
Yeah.
You don't, there's no need to put dogma to hot or cold as far as feelings are concerned. Because a lot of these things, like, people like to say that the skeptics are always skeptical of everything. Well, there's no need to be skeptical of where you go, hi, good evening, Kevin. It's like, well, I'm not skeptical of your name being Kevin.
Yeah, exactly.
Skeptical that it's an evening or good, or, there are certain things that you don't need to be skeptical of, right?
Right. Yep.
And that's where I think these the ideas of these philosophical understandings that people have Now, you can't even say, well, you're a skeptic, therefore I will put you in this bracket of you being skeptical of everything, which is what people will do. You should always try and base it on the individual, where I think where this epoche comes from. This is the most important thing for me, to go back to that state where you try and keep the dogma at bay, but you also have your knowledge that you take in with you. Some people may call that dogma, but if it's your knowledge, then you definitely don't call it dogma. Whereas if you were telling somebody else of your knowledge, they would have to accept it as dogma until the fact that they've replicated it for themselves.
Right. That's why Paper was right when he said that you can't. It's received. Dogma is received. It's not. It doesn't come from your own mind, because that would be a proof to you, right?
Yeah, or a false, right?
Or a false,
if you've done something within your idea of doing that. So the dogma is accepted truths, as Buster would call them, right? That you get given information and you put it in that bracket, truth, right? And you forget about it. You've accepted it. Yep. And if you build upon that, then that's accepted dogma that you've got, and it could be true, but it could also be false. Yeah.
Right. And then this goes on to say that for the Pyrrhonian philosopher, assents to nothing that is non-evident, which we've already read, right? Moreover, even in the act of enunciating the skeptic formula concerning things non-evident, such as the formula "no more one thing than another," or the formula "I determine nothing," or any of the others which we shall presently mention, he does not dogmatize. For whereas the dogmatizer posits the things about which he is said to be dogmatizing as really existent, the skeptic does not posit these formula in any absolute sense, for he conceives that just as the formula "all things are false" asserts the falsity of itself as well as of everything else, as does the formula "nothing is true," so also the formula "no more" asserts that itself, like all the rest, is no more than this or that, and thus cancels itself along with the rest. And of the other formula we say the same. If then, while the dogmatizer posits the matter of his dogma as substantial truth, the skeptic enunciates his formula so that they are virtually canceled by themselves, he should not be said to dogmatize in this enunciation of them. And most important of all, in his enunciation of the formula, he states that what appears to himself and announces his own impression in an undogmatic way, without making any positive assertion regarding the external realities. Middle of the road.
To go over these ones here, these all things are false.
Yeah, you can't say that, right? Because as soon as you say all things are false, then it's
statement. For the statement to be true, everything cannot be false, because then the statement is true. Therefore, it's a false statement because the statement itself is true. Can't be false.
Right.
And things like that take a little bit of extra thought that people can pass by. You know, these sort of things are said more than you would realize. And it takes, if that "all things are false" is said within a rambling sentence that goes on, and you never get to mentally process what the words actually say, it's a falsification of itself, even though it's talking about all things being false.
You could end up inadvertently accepting it.
Yeah. in your mind, right?
Yeah,
Accepted
right, in your mind.
subconsciously, accepting it just by the fact of you hearing it. Dangerous sort of things. But what about the no more? That's a very, if it's going to put them together, how does no more fit into that?
I don't know.
And thus
This is where you'd have
cancels
to-
itself along with the rest. No more this than that.
It's no more this than it is that.
Yeah.
I don't know that you can make that comparison.
And it cancels itself along with the rest.
For now, I cannot understand this statement.
It must mean something,
I have
though,
to
right?
process it
Yeah.
slowly.
The nothing is true and all things are false are understandable, self-serving falsities, right? Within their own statement. But I don't get the no more. So also the formula no more.
We got more in the live chat from Savage Dressing, who I don't know who you are, but
yeah.
it'd be great if you came into the Discord at some point. It's a fascinating conversation. But he says if you go to, I believe, 14 of that book, I don't know if that's page 14 or chapter 14, it gives the modes of Pyrrhonism. Very intriguing stuff. It says it states something along the lines that if it looks like something is about to hit him, it is good enough based off of appearance. Not that based off of the appearance, it is true. And unlike the academic skeptics who claim truth is unobtainable, Pyrrhonism gives a more honest view of obtaining truth, but stating he does not know if truth is obtainable. Yeah, it's interesting.
So
he's busy doing school at the moment, but I may sometime. You're welcome anytime. Savage Dressing.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing in there. Yeah, this is cool stuff. I don't know if it's justified or not, but I'm kind of liking the Pyrrhonistic view, at least as it relates to philosophy. I kind of like it. I don't know everything about it, so I reserve my judgment to come back on that at a later time.
As all things like this is philosophy, right? Everybody has their own philosophy, and you can take pieces from all of these things. I mean, no, everybody normally has their own philosophy, whether they know it or not. There is a conversation to be had to find where people's minds are at, because I bet lots of people won't even have thought about these sort of things, because philosophy is obviously guys walking around in robes waving their arms about and in thought, right? Deep thinking, which I think everybody has to do, right? All day, every day, you are there with yourself. So your mind may be better doing this sort of stuff and contemplating these sort of things than thinking about what's going to happen on the latest soap or whatever. Who's going to win at football? Who knows? I know that this is try thinking, obviously. I'm fascinated by these sort of things. And this is definitely where this channel, this group, I think we had a discussion over the weekend. I think we will be going more into this side of things than anything else, really. We are leaving a certain group of people behind. So sorry if you think we used to do something else. We haven't. We've always been doing this. But we've used as our inspiration the doubt, let's say. The thought
Skepticism.
of the doubts, yeah, the skepticism has
Yeah.
led us to where we are now. And I think this trivium, this is where it's at. This, you know, assembling this in the minds of the common people. This don't, if anybody's listening and they think they're beyond or were beyond where you should be, please don't. This is meant to be as basic as possible for everyone. This is a discussion that we'll be having over the next years, I reckon, because there's going to be a lot of minds that need this sort of helping together to formulate these thoughts, or to stop you from going mad, really. We don't want people going insane around us. So,
well, I was just going to say, without getting into any details, like keep it at a very, very high level, but can you share with with me and with the audience that might be listening, this, you said, because of this weekend, just at a very, very high level, not naming any names, not talking about, just kind of what happened, what made you, because we did have a discussion about this at length yesterday, because we did not go live, right? So,
well, yeah, like I say, over Friday was a little chat with Red's Rhetoric and Slice Barcane, which sort of led along the lines which we thought it was, for us to go into a debate. Now, they obviously didn't want that debate. They didn't want to go anywhere near it, which led us to the idea that there's no use talking to people that obviously have no argument, have no skills in debate, and never want to actually go into that discussion. Even the discussion about the debate, there was nothing honest within that entire thing. It was just people trying to point fingers and label, saying, you know, basically no debate. And well, from then, that led to a few, all Saturday basically was a day. I've got 4 videos of about 8 hours work of conversations. Worth of conversations, not work. We just have discussions and go over it. But they were very telling, the way that there is no argument. And all you find you're doing when you start talking to a certain group of people, I'll call them the modern day sophists, whereas you go in and you know that they have no argument. There's no constructive conversation going on. It's all just turning things upside down and trying to make you feel bad, or trying to get one over on you, and it's just not worth it anymore. It's
trying to get you to accept the dogma, right?
Well, all sorts of stuff. The
yeah.
Dogma, labels, they want to get you into all sorts of areas. Imagination, they want you to be imagining things. And they don't even know what they're saying, to be honest. Their minds are so riddled with contradictions that they don't know where they're coming from themselves. We've been watching that. We've been learning over the past years that there are a group of people that are so obsessed with, I don't even know what they're obsessed with. It's just too much. So we've decided, for their own good, that we have to move them, or remove that sort of influence. So there will be a lot more of this, And if anybody's interested, I'll put those conversations out. There's a few telling ones of how conversations go. They're infuriating, I think, to listen to. Just basically because of the way it works. Just put it in.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for that. I think it was important because you mentioned, this is why we're going where we're going, and we're going where we call it logos, right? We're going where we think the logos is taking us. And it is along the lines of these logical, philosophical discussions, because at least we might be able to have some actual discussions there, maybe with folks that are interested in these kinds of things, and having a discussion without an argument, as we think about arguments in modern day, right? The arguing, the yelling, screaming, shouting, calling people names, saying, no, you're not that. Yes, you say you're not that thing, but you are that thing because I say you're that thing. It's all of that. That's just, as Bev said, is sort of modern day sophistry. And I think what we're starting to do now is to close the door on the sophists. Aristotle did that in his day. Had to close the door on the sophists.
A lot worse though, right?
Yeah, amen to that.
Yeah, the modern day sophist would have been infuriating back in that day, but who knows? It could possibly Zeno.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly a conversation with Zeno. Who knows? Do Gorgias and Plato. We might have to go over that.
Yeah, I think that'd be good, actually. One of these nights.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Savage.
This is good stuff. Yeah, Savage dressing.
I'm gonna have a read over that, but
me too. I'm gonna read.
It's very deep and all of that.
As most philosophies are.
Yeah.
You really have
this
to.
one, I'm looking down here, it's got, thus quails are flattened by hemlock, pigs by henbane, and pigs also enjoy eating salamanders. It's very strange when you get into these sort of things.
Yeah. I mean, this stuff is not as simple as, let's say, what a triangle is. I mean, it's definitely not that simple. Right? Yeah, no, this is good stuff. Thanks, Bev.
Right. However a skeptic you were in ancient times, they never can give you a truth.
Are you sure, Paper? Are you positive about that? Contradictions can give you truth. 2 wrongs equal a right, right? Yeah.
Right. Well, thank you very much. I don't know exactly what we were aiming to go over with that, other than to say, there are a group of people that seem to want to sit within areas where they consider debate as being a discussion between separate topics, but matters concerning certain topics get left out to mean some people, I don't know how to say it, you can go into a conversation with a serious argument, and the group of people that you're trying to lay down the argument for don't have an argument. So there's no way they can accept your argument. And in turn, all they have is ad homs and gaslighting, possibly poisoning the well to make you feel bad. When you're in that situation, just remember that it might not be that you are wrong. It might be that you're facing one of these modern day sophists. Just bear it in mind that these things all come from inside people's heads, and some people aren't honest. Well, like I say, they might be thinking that they're honest to themselves, and it may contradict something that you see, or they may contradict themselves even, and they can't see it. And if you're ever talking to somebody and you spot a contradiction within their conversation and they can't see the contradiction that they've just made, then it may be a sign that it's not really worth talking to them.
Yeah, exactly. Because we've talked about the trivium and the fact that the rhetoric, which is using grammar and logic to make an argument or try to convince an audience or another person of something. But what ties in with that is dialectic, which is a back and forth. That is the real debate, in other words, right? But in that, even in a dialectic, both parties need to have some kind of logical argument. And that's what you're getting at. There isn't any, which to your point, Bev, leads to the ad homs, the gaslighting, the you are this. Yes, you say you're not that, but you are this. It's just, there's no use in it. There's no use in the conversation, or there's no dialectic there. There's nothing.
Yeah, I think in the conversations or the videos that I've prepared, which are a little bit different than the usual videos, there is no start. There is no Buster song at the beginning. There's no introduction. There's literally just me clicking record, and that's it. So what you'll get is completely raw, and in that I think we basically showed that the modern day sophist has literally no argument. There is literally no worth, and say it's going to be only for a few people that want to study these things. People that are really interested in how the minds of people work modern day. You probably won't get anything. Well, I say that's up to whoever listens to them. But they're more than just a listening. You have to put yourself in a position and learn from the way these conversations are going. We all need to do that. Now, from now on, we are going to be looking at how conversations occur and how arguments are developed and what we gain from it. There has to be a positive outcome for both parties, I think.
Definitely.
In any future conversations, I have to know what the aim is and all of that, so at least I can learn. I mean, I'm always learning, but when I'm talking to these sophists, I don't think they're learning anything, personally, other than how to rubbish an obvious truth, or how to get around an argument.
Yep, trying to find some chink in the armor that they can use to gaslight, or like you said, make you feel bad or whatever.
Yeah.
Because there is no interest in the actual the good argument, the conversation. There's no interest in that at all on their part. None.
Yeah, and I'd like we were saying at the weekend that we don't want to aid these people in their sophistry that they can use on other unsuspecting people, because I know there's a lot of people out there that won't spot this sophistry.
Yep.
Sorry, did I cut you off?
No, you're good. I will say, Savage Dressing, again, good comment here, says there's no point in sticking to one specific topic, parenthesis heliocentrism, with no new thoughts or information in general on the topic when you can be seeking truth in other facets of life. I think that's well said.
Yeah, very well said. But I mean, we've never been sticking with that anyway, and I
No, we never really wanted to, but
tried to keep
nobody
away
would let
from
us
it.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah, nobody would let us out of it, right? You must be in this. It's like, no, I'm with savage dressing. I don't want to talk about it. There's lots of other things to talk about.
yeah.
Lots of other things.
And I think now we are definitely out, because the people that we've shown, i.e., Red's rhetoric, they have no argument. They cannot engage honestly into a discussion about things. There's no argument on their behalf. So all they can do is play slander games to try and belittle people, because that's the only way they can perceptually win anything, and they're always going to win in their own minds, because they've set up this false narrative. They've poisoned the well with their followers. But this is one of those things that you can't stop it. Once it's in the mind, they're going to remember this now. It's never going to end. They're going to remember the fact that they have no argument.
100%.
And all we offer here is honesty and discussion, and obviously reality. We base everything on logic, and logic has to have a thing for you to predicate upon. And if you don't have that thing, then logic isn't possible. These ideas, these fantasiae, are thoughts that come into your head, and it's how you use those thoughts. Do you ask a question of other people, or do you let it lie? Do you let it keep going in your mind? People hearing voices. Do you tell people about these things, or carry on listening to it? I think over the next, well, it's not going to be that long, month, 2, 3 months, that you're going to see a lot of people with struggling mentally, trying to come to terms with their own thoughts.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, the couple questions before we say goodbye. From the live chat. So V Thomas says, "How do you deal with these sophists? Do you point out that they are poisoning the well? Can you be bothered?" It's a good question.
Well, I mean, everybody knows the sophists. We can go back over any one of the conversations, 750 videos to go back over. And you want to know what a sophist is? I mean, if you want to call me the sophist, come on in. We'll find out. I mean, otherwise, it's not me. It must be every one of the conversations where we come to. I mean, I think all of those 750 videos and all of the conversations that we've had, the hours and hours of conversations, have led to the new modern day sophist within this arena. Whenever you talk about one particular subject.
Yep. And so how do you deal with it? Well, what I would say is, how did Aristotle deal with it? Did Aristotle attempt to try to convince sophists that their sophistry was something that wasn't worth pursuing? I don't think so.
Yeah.
He pointed out,
or listen to the Gorgias, and you'll find out that Socrates took the piss out of him.
Yes, indeed.
Him and his mates just laughed.
Yep. Because there's nothing that you can do. Can you be bothered? The conclusion that we've come to, V. Thomas, is no. No, because there's no positive energy behind that. It's only negative. It's only negative. And like Bev said earlier, for their own sake, we're out. We're out of this quite honestly, stupid discussion of the shape of things. Because I think, like the Puranists would say, doesn't matter to me. I don't care. I can't tell. I reserve judgment. I will not give my assent to one thing or another that I cannot prove. Period. That's it. We can have discussions about a lot of things, and we can ponder them together, and hopefully if it's a real conversation, you can go your separate ways and say, yeah, I get where you're coming from. Yeah, I see where you're coming from, but look, I can't go there. I know you went there, but I can't go there. And vice versa. You could say, well, I know that's where you are, but I'm not going there. Okay. All right. It's fine. No hard feelings. It's good conversation. Thanks. But we
Yeah.
can't ever get there. We can't ever, it's like you said, how many hours? Hundreds, thousands of hours?
Yeah, people
You
running
can't
from
ever
the
get there.
they're either running from the identity of the subject or the issue or whatever, or they're running from the geometric argument. There are definite certain things that you can point at, and you'll see it if anybody listens to any of those discussions that we had over the weekend. You can see how quickly we can get to it.
Mm-hmm.
We can get to the point within 5-10 minutes straight away at the beginning, but the conversation 2 hours with nothing, literally nothing, and we keep pointing it out again and again and again, and there's still nothing that comes back.
Yep.
Just abuse.
Savage. Yeah. Savage dressings again. Good comment. Says, I think giving these sophists any attention, unless for productive purposes, if any, good caveat, is just playing into their games, especially with the utterly futile, quote, debates, unquote. Not that debating is bad at all. Of course it's not, but with sophists, it's what I would even call a true debate. Yeah, exactly. So that's exactly what we've found. You can't even have the debate, because someone would want you to, in the case of Bev, someone wanted Bev to adopt a position he doesn't hold. Research other people that hold that position, and then try to argue for the position that Bev doesn't hold. It's ridiculous
But
on its face.
it is understandable from a sophist's position because
Yes.
because, for example, if Beth has geometric arguments and proofs, sophist cannot argue against that. That's why sophist is trying to set up, so to speak, Beth into, for example, flat Earth position, because there are many things that don't add in this model.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be a much easier target. So just, for example, for me, Red's rhetoric wanted Beth being a strawman. Just be a strawman for me for
Yes.
2 hours. And because as normal person and holding, for example, geometric proofs, he wouldn't carry this debate anyway. So that's why this is only way how sophist can produce any argument. He has to frame opponent into false dichotomies or just a strawman position, and then he can produce many arguments against this strawman. But this is just a tactic, because for against logical proofs and geometrical proofs which are the same basically, he cannot produce anything. He's just armless, completely armless.
Yep. So yeah, you can't do much of anything with a sophist except fall prey to them I believe.
I think you can still point it out though, right?
Yes, you
Because
can.
it
That's for sure.
definitely needs to be shown, because a lot of these things we've found, or I've found, you don't see it. It can be right in front of your face. But because of this clever trickery that's happened over countless years within education and things, you are trained to not see things. You are given contradictions and then taught a way to not see them.
Yep.
And it needs pointing out. If nobody points them out to you, then you might never see them. And that's what we need to do. I think you need to see these things, and it needs to be shown. Other than that, there is no purpose in dealing with sophists. You do not want to help a sophist generate a new argument that they never knew about. Because as you'll see, the modern sophist has no argument and needs no argument. Therefore, the modern sophist can appear to be an expert in everything.
Yes.
And that's the danger. Most people probably have known them, they've seen them, they've heard them. People who will just pick up a topic and become an instant expert because they've read something on Google. You can literally hear them typing to look at what the words that you've just said. Even things like triangle and tangent.
Yep. To your point, I was just going to say, could you imagine sophists in Aristotle's time with the power that we have today of Google and the internet, Wikipedias, and the rest of it? It's like, and we had someone come in today. I don't know, sophist, it might be too strong a word. I would say clueless. They came in and literally could not define a triangle. Actually said that angles have nothing to do with triangle. It's because of received opinion, mind you. Because of received opinion. The doxa, the dogma.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but that's what sophists will do. And it can happen. To me, it does. It's interesting that in today's world, you don't even need the sophist, because the sophist is on your mobile phone. It's in the search engine that you type in. The sophists are everywhere. They don't even have to be an actual person.
Yeah, the sophists' tools are being implanted in your brain within advertising.
Yeah.
That you are being given things that you should not, you shouldn't be, you're not aware of. This subconscious thought is literally advertising.
Yeah.
It's in the movies. It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. And then even on the internet, it's like Emma said earlier, it's like there are actually people that if you create a website, make it official looking enough, you can make people believe anything you want them to believe if it shows up in a Google search.
Yep.
Imagine the power of that in the sophist's hands back in Aristotle's day. Whew. Holy.
And in dictionaries, only in internet version of dictionary, we can find that level is conforming to curvature of the earth, because I have only one dictionary, Webster Unbridged, something very, very heavy, like 5 kilograms.
Yep.
So there is nothing like that. They are all the normal definitions. No new entries, new strange entries. So this is on internet. You can write whatever you want, and this is Merriam Webster dictionary, but only on internet. because in normal Merriam-Webster dictionary, you will not find the curving level, for example. So that's it.
Yep. We said the other day, in the, like, let's say 3-4 years, let's give it, we've been around here talking about these sort of things. Me personally, I've witnessed 2 direct adjustments to the water level tool.
Yep.
In 4 years of us being around here.
Formal ones, not like somebody coming in.
Yeah.
No, this was written on the internet.
Actual wiki
Actual
changes.
wiki changes. Yeah. Approved changes. Yeah. Amazing.
And that's, I would say, directly because of the discussions that we have. And directly related to the discussions we have. I could probably say that because of the discussions we had, that's why those changes have been made. Now, because they're trying to change the definition, they can't change truth. So the absolute facts still remain, yet the sophistical wording around the changes allow people to conceive of something. Once you involve dogma into the reading of the new definitions, then you can apply your dogma to it and have the required outcome at the end. And you can now, with the modern sophistry, you can now argue with that as a fact. They don't, because they know it can't actually win here. But no doubt they will be using it to other people, which I think is unfair, because they won't be aware of the actual argument and how simple it is.
Yep.
But hopefully, through argumentation and correct methods of how to discuss with people and how to communicate, we should be able to have a few general decent discussions about these things.
Yeah, I hope so, because the engagement with the sophists is I don't think of much value except as a cautionary tale. But again, then you have to engage them and go through it, and it's you're not going to get anywhere. You won't get anywhere worthwhile, I should say.
Yeah.
But again, comments in the live chat are good.
Yeah.
I
like yeah, and like I really do want to involve as many people in this as possible. So yeah, thanks for Savage Dressing. Thanks for coming and chatting and this sort of stuff. It's all helping. Helping people just come out and start communicating. What we want to do is definitely we want to get rid of all of this dogma. Dogma of all kinds, right? If people have ideas about who's poisoned the well and doing all of that sort of thing, and well, we don't have that dogma here. I don't particularly care what model you hold or anything, as long as we can have a discussion and talk honestly, then that's going to be great for all of us. I think we all learn from discussions, no matter how heated or whatever they get. As long as they're honest, there's something to learn from every discussion.
Yeah.
And just looking at Balanced Truth's comment there. Yes, we are all aware that people hijack truth and turn it into a dogma.
Mm-hmm.
Without ever wanting to have that particular discussion. That's one of the things that people don't want to have a discussion about. Even people like Red's Rhetoric, right? How ridiculous it is about the earth being flat as a statement. Because, I mean, people within this conversation don't want to think that, but there are literally people out there, when they hear flat earth, they literally go to their mind, and what do you think they think of?
A model.
Yeah, some sort of a pizza thing. It's literally what they think of. And not me.
Ridiculous.
I mean, I don't think that, because I know what it's all just wrapped up in wordplay. It's all dogma. I've got no judgment on anything like that, because it's a meaningless statement. It's a misnomer. It literally means nothing to me. And I definitely want to move away from all of that ridiculous stuff. And I don't want anybody to be able to come in here and feel that they're going to get attacked for any reason, whatever model you hold. Doesn't matter. Just come in for the discussion, and nothing will happen in here. And hopefully we'll be able to get rid of, if you've had enough of that old conversation with, call them globe earthers, come in. I'll teach you a discussion, conversation. They won't want to talk to you ever again.
Yep. Or it'll quickly devolve.
Yeah, you will literally be done with them.
Yep.
So yeah, if you like that sort of stuff, then there are other places for that, and we can direct you to them. There's some excellent globe earth channels that have all of the proofs. They have all of the dogma that you could ever want. You are required to have a massive amount of faith. So as long as you're okay with that, you'll be fine. We can send you over to there. And there are other places where, if you want to have that discussion, the meaningless circular thing that goes round and round, and you want to do that, there's also those, but that's not here.
You don't need any logic or any of that for any of that, but you do need it here. Well, we would say we'd like you to have it here, or at least entertain logic here, because that's what we try to do.
Yeah. And yeah, so that's where we're going to be going from now on. Anybody else got any? There's not many people in here. We didn't expect this. This is going to be a slightly slimmed down version of Try Thinking over the next, but over the next few weeks, months, or however. But we will definitely be doing more of what I consider interesting stuff. Obviously, we've had thousands of hours of conversation. You may not have heard or seen, but Emma has been there, a part of that. Not just not doing anything, listening, trying to work out what's going on. And there's a whole new part for this, because what we've been doing is we've been having discussions, and most of the live shows that we've done, the videos that we did back in the early days, were just initially to document what we were going through. Just to document it seemed so strange to me early on, and it became apparent that I needed to document everything, because it was just crazy stuff. The very early days where we were learning the ropes, how to talk to people. I mean, I was learning loads back then, and it was just getting documented. And we did videos to let everybody know, because people were poisoning the well. People were gaslighting about us. They were saying all sorts of lies. I've had it all the time, personally. So we did that. We did the videos, and then we go to live stuff. And now that live stuff was mainly done to see how people react to the live, because there's a different crowd of people within the live arena. people who can talk are the ones that obviously that speak up. When you get involved in that, then you sort of put a target on your head. And I was showing people exactly what happens when you come to an arena with an argument and don't fit in. If you don't become part of that arena, if you don't take on certain topics or certain opinions or certain positions, then you are cast aside. Now, that's clearly been documented through what's gone on here. And the live stuff has been meant to highlight that. And now I don't know whether people have seen that, because in the background, there has been an awful lot of other things going on that people haven't seen. They've not been aware of. A lot of extra thought and conversations that are absolutely amazing. Now, we haven't recorded any of those because they were for us. They were to get our team together, so we're all on the same page, right? We've all come together and we've developed the trivium, right? But this is modern day trivium. This is street trivium, street philosophy. And it's open for everybody.
The layman's philosophy.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like stuff you can actually understand, which anybody, I mean, I am a philosophy kind of guy, but boy, it's like take a big straw like you'd get with a milkshake and take a big swig from a talcum powder like baby powder. It's like that's what it's like a lot of times.
It's sort of like the philosophy of philosophy, isn't it? It's where you just get information and we discuss it and we go over these things, and that's an poignant point, and that comes out in my mind, and you talk about them and you develop theories, but they're just theories. You get a chance to test them in the next one and develop questions and, methods of communicating. You find these words and you can put the words together. You can give them meaning yourself, because that's all they are, isn't it? It's words is a way to communicate with each other.
Yep. Yeah. V. Thomas is asking, so we're running away from the sophists, and what about standing up to bullies? And yeah, I think running away, no, I mean, Savage Dressing says it, right? There's a difference between running away and not wanting to waste your time. Debating with a sophist every day is literally stupid as fuck. Yeah, it's the engagement with the sophists and the fact that it just creates negativity. Now, can you create something positive out of every once in a while engaging with a sophist potentially, or better yet, pointing to them and saying, this is the sophistry, and pointing it out so that other people can get to it? Yes, that is positive. But engaging with these people every effing day is just, it's soul draining. And it does nothing for them, and it does nothing for you. So yeah, we're moving on to greener pastures.
Yeah. I know there's another thing that's gone on tonight, McToon. I don't know whether everybody knows. He's done how we're scared of something or we can't debate or whatever, but it's basically projection. On Friday, like we say, we went to Red's Rhetoric, and Red's Rhetoric basically said he doesn't want to debate level is horizontal or all horizontals being parallel, because he can't. But he wants me to take on any other, he didn't say what particular position. He wants me to take on everybody else's ridiculous positions so he can argue them. He doesn't want to argue the rock solid one that nobody wants to talk about. And that shows everything to me, that we're not running from him. I'll go and talk to anybody about anything. but ridiculous debates with no debate in them, and where the opposing side has no argument and never comes with an argument. It's not a debate, and there's no need to run from them. They are the ones that can't talk to us,
but won't leave us alone either.
Yeah,
That's the conundrum, right? They
Yeah.
won't. There is no argument. They can't have a conversation, a decent conversation, but they won't just wash their hands of us either. That is, you could tell that that's a sophist. They are so angry that they can't wizard you, that they keep trying to wizard you or gaslight you or ad hom you or whatever the case may be. Because why? Because I don't know, they get off on it. It gives their life their meaning of some sort. Because think about a sophist. What is meaningful to a sophist? Their sophistry, nothing else.
So let me get this straight. McToon is championing Reds, a guy that wants to pay Bev $500 to take an opinion that is not his in a debate. And he's calling him a chicken.
Yeah.
And
Like, if that ain't the weirdest thing you ever heard.
And he's even trying, because as I remember, one of his conditions was that you will be not attacking his model, but you have to bring positive model for yourself. So
He had a list. He had a list, and one of them is you can't use typography. Like, you can't make comedy up like this if you wanted to.
So this is just ridiculous. So I would say that he can bring, for example, that condition that Beth has to be, for example, I don't know, not to wear mustaches or whatever. This is just a joke.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to go over that McToonery again. But no doubt it's just going to be slander and libel and them saying all sorts of things which obviously aren't true. And I'll still stand it to this. If Reds wants to debate, then he knows what I will defend. And he won't be able to do that.
Stick to trolling YouTube for suckers, McToon. You won't find any here.
Nope.
But if you have any guts, you're welcome to come here and show us your intellect.
In the form of Brenda. Has anyone ever seen Brenda and McToon together?
You think?
No, but just
McToon.
No, but just as by way of since we've been talking about the sophists and the gaslighting and the ad homs, Brenda again came in just before just after we started with in the live chat, hello dum-dums. There you go. That's an argument. That's what you want in a formological argument.
That is what you call an irrelevant person.
Yeah, and there's no need. So that was that for Brenda this evening, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your viewpoint.
Yeah, you don't introduce yourself like that. I mean, it is expected, but Brenda should very well expect a timeout or something like that if that's the way it wants to greet people. Fair enough.
That's what we've said we've had enough of. Yeah. We're not there anymore. We're out of it.
Yeah, they're going to have to find a group of people. Well, Brenda and the people that obviously have been around here are going to have to train some other people. It's time. Because of all of the conversations I've had, I've asked quite a lot of them, people who've been here. what have they presented to the Globe Earth team? And they haven't. They've never talked to the Globe Earth team about any of the stuff they come here with. They're literally testing us with their own imaginings. And they've never even worked them through with their own team. That says quite a lot. They can't join together for some reason. That reason is that they've all developed their own models. They can't talk to each other about their own models because they're individual.
They all have their own Fantasia, modern term, quote unquote, fantasy of the model. Yeah.
Everybody does. Right? Everybody
Yep.
has their own perceptions of reality. Now, one of the luckiest things I've found within all of this is that if you have a clarity of mind, it is aided by a group of people who at least make you think critically about things. And having those sounding boards of people is vitally important. You can't do this thing on your own, or even just two. I think you need at least 3 people, and hopefully more, to formulate some sort of an idea. I know that at least the people who are around here, I can ask 4 or 5 people and I will get, I will definitely change my mind. I say that probably a bit too much to go. But I mean, there will be considerations that I had not thought about. That sounds better, right?
Yep.
The minds that you have around you can definitely aid you, as long as you have the right minds and you can be open and critical about how you think. Checking the chat. It's good today, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's finished. Is that the McToonery one's finished? Oh, just being at Oakley's. Oh, did we know about the one? Is it the SE debut tomorrow? SE? It wasn't today, was it? Or was
I
it?
have no clue, Bev.
Remember that one from Nathan Oakley that we seen at the
Well,
weekend?
we thought you thought it was, but
Yeah.
I'm not so sure. I don't know really.
I think there was one. There was a Nathan Oakley one that was billed with SE on the front of it. Now we didn't know whether that was SE or some other sort of thing, code, or I don't know. Hopefully tomorrow. It's the 9 o'clock one tomorrow night, isn't it? I think I can remember Wednesday. So thanks for sticking with us. And about these 4 videos I've got, let me just check.
Today was really good, I must say. It was really good. Philosophy.
Yeah. Yep. I'm a sucker for this kind of stuff, but so I'm biased, but it was really good.
Yeah, look, you don't want to do it. That subject, it's fascinating, you know? Yeah.
Right, so over the weekend, we had some conversations. In total, there are 5 videos. I think I did manage to break them up quite well, but like I say, I don't know exactly what's going on. There's a 2.5-hour video with Chaik, which I've labelled The Obvious Signs of a Mental Decline. I've got one where Chaik brings the pressure, which Chaik actually tries to have a conversation, but he brings in a barometer talk, which we quite like round here. That was a good one. Brought in another discussion from that. That one will definitely be causing more conversation. There's a 2-hour video on the modern day sophist. Shout out No Tanks. Then there was a flat earth guy that came in, and we had to tell him it's definitely not flat.
Oh, how did that?
That's
Just
nearly
quickly,
3
how
hours.
did that go? That's 3 hours.
Yeah.
Oh goodness.
Tanks was in here as well, so we had Tanks backing him up every time we said anything.
Yeah, I was gonna say you had two of them together.
Yeah. Well, the sophist and a flat earther. But like I say,
a sophist and a flat earther walk into a bar.
I think
that sounds like a movie, man.
I think I can sniff them out, right? I really do.
A flat earther. Sorry, Bev. That was too good, that one.
Well, yeah, like flat earth society, I would say. You have to listen to the conversations. And I would say, not a real flat earther, even. But, I mean, what do I know? Personal opinion. And then we had a conversation with Brenda about the identity of the argument, it's called, with Brenda. Another
did you
2
get
hour,
into
10
law?
minutes.
Did you get into law of identity with that? I mean, identity is an interesting topic.
Obviously you can't. You can't go to the identity, but it was mentioned, and Brenda diverts from it. Obviously, that's the idea is to get to the paralogism, and to show people their paralogism, and then they can't even see it themselves. That's what that was about. SE was a part of that. We even went into Pokemon evolution and stuff.
Holy
cow. It was hilarious, man. Like the big debater from the Globe side was literally bringing up Pokemon in a debate about evolution. It was ridiculous. It was literally. That's why I say there's 5 videos there, about 10 hours worth of conversations over the weekend that I'm not bothered making into videos because they're just not worth it, to be honest. But they do go to show how far we've come within these conversations. Obviously with a similar sort of people that we've always had conversations with. But the skills that have been learned through those conversations, and literally the leaps and bounds that have just happened recently with the trivium. You know, the logic started it, but the trivium has just built on that immensely. Go into the simplicity of the trivium to find out how arguments and the identity of things and all of that put together. Thank you, everyone that's been involved in all of this stuff. Everybody knows who they all are. It's been amazing. And
shout out Raven.
Raven, Saragaki, probably not here. Everybody involved in all of this stuff. Countless names to mention. Everybody knows who they all are. Thank you. And this is where we're going from here. It's all going to be based around logic, the argument, geometry, and finding truths and pointing out sophistry. Hopefully pointing out contradictions that exist.
Savage Dressing asks, does anyone have any philosophical work they would suggest for me to read? I would say I'll speak for myself. I'm new to a lot of formal philosophy. So that's why Bev said we're more of a kind of street philosophy, but we have a couple of different channels in, or rooms, if you call them that, in our Discord server where we've dropped a lot of philosophy type stuff. So not actual works, I don't know, but lots of different people getting thoughts on different philosophers. Of course, we're big time into Aristotle ourselves, and the works of Plato and all the stuff we talked about today. But yeah, so I don't know that I'd have a quote philosophical work. I like Bev. I have a couple of books. I think one Bev and I both have is Philosophy for Busy People. Is a small little book. It's got some good stuff in it. There are others as well. I've got the Organon. Um,
The Lost Tools
which is
of Learning.
Lost Tools of, yeah. If you want
That's
something
a bit more
savage
modern.
dressing,
Right? Yeah.
yeah, that's not philosophy generally, but it is fantastic. The Lost Tools of Learning, um, really good stuff. Not philosophy per se, but it all kind of ties into the whole learning and the trivium and what it really means to learn, uh, all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, I think that's what philosophy is, right? At the
I would
heart of
hope.
it's how you use your mind, right? And it's people getting a grip of that for themselves. Now, however you can do that is, I mean, that's up to you. If anybody's willing to put the work in and discuss it to make a better an argument, or to formulate these thoughts, anything goes within philosophy. That's why I say I think people have their own philosophy, and you get it from wherever, right? These ideas are given to the individual, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And it's how you talk about it that develops the philosophy.
Yeah, we're all about the discuss. That's why it's so important to us to be able to have the discussions, and why it's so sad that we can't with certain people. It really is saddening. It's a lot of people get angry, and sometimes justifiably so, but it is, at least for me, and I know I probably speak for you as well, Bev, right? It's just sad that you can't have conversations with certain people, because it's the conversations that bring out the, oh, I never really thought about that. Oh, that's really that's kind of interesting. Oh, I think that might be out. I mean, we've had those, right? SE and I have had some of those spot on when the three of us have talked about certain philosophical viewpoints, and talk through them and go, yeah, well, that sounds a little bit dodgy to me, and well, here's what I got out of it. It's great to have those conversations, but with certain people, you just can't do it. It's unfortunate. It's sad, truly sad. Yeah, but come on in.
Yeah.
We'll try to have a conversation. If you turn out to be a sophist, it won't be a very long one, but nonetheless.
Yeah, I think we have got good at finding with, like I say, the trivium is the best tool. Obviously, the tools you already have obviously help, but learning the trivium gives you the ability to focus on the simplicity of the identity of whatever it is, and they, sophists I'm talking, will always fail.
Yep.
They will show you that they don't know by avoidance or whatever. There's many different means that they will show you that they do not know, but mainly it's because of the Alencas, these questions, and their inability to answer them. That's where the sophist, the modern day sophist, always fails. In the answering,
you remember the other
questions.
one we came up with? The parasophist.
Yeah.
The one that believes half of the stuff and half he makes up.
Yeah, that's
I
the
think
dogma,
that's the
isn't it?
dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've built it on dogma. The sophistry that's built on dogma.
Yeah.
Where they actually believe that the sophistry is an argument form. and they've been convinced of that. Somebody's taught them that that is a legitimate argument.
Mm-hmm.
Prime
That's
example.
sad.
Yeah, prime example, the NASA fanboys.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Believing in the fantasy and using the fantasy as a solid argument for reality.
There is another for Savage, if he's still listening. I say he. I don't know. I don't mean to misgender anybody. It's with a name like Savage Dressing. I have no idea. But there's a work that I've just started reading that I think is really good. It's Aristotle's the oh geez, Eudemian. Is Paper still around? Because he's the only one who pronounces this stuff.
Is
Eudemian.
it Eudamin?
Eudemian. Eudemian. Ethics. Eudemian ethics. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm not sure. But it to me, this is good. So this is getting into the ethics of philosophy and learning and Aristotle. That's one of the things we don't often talk about, but we probably should at some point, Bev, is the idea of ethics, right? There's logos, pathos, and ethos.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't right. The pathos is kind of the method, or it's related to pathology, right? And logos is obviously logos. It's the logic. But the piece that often gets left out is the ethos. And that's the thing that we've been lamenting, right? The fact that you can't have a conversation. There's gaslighting, there's ad homs, there's, you're a vile piece of crap. I'm not going to talk to you like you're a normal human being, So the ethos is important.
He's a guy. You did all right.
Okay, good. All right, good deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting where we are at now from where we came. Me personally, I can't help but I'm here because I came with a natural curiosity and a want to sort of help my son. He's now at college, so we've gone through the school years, let's say, and now he's out there. I think he's done all right. So now we need to sort this place out. I've had enough of dealing with sophists, but we had this discussion. I think that's where you learn from, right? Like Paper said at the beginning with Descartes, if you doubt, therefore you think, because you have to resolve a problem. And that to me was the sort of thing I had to resolve something that didn't seem right. They just, It needed sorting. Now, I've sorted it for myself and I am completely at ease. I'm fine. But there are still these groups of people that are not fine with me being fine. Which
That's
now again, like, I'm still curious about that. So I can't get away from it. And obviously they can't get away from me either. They're not going to let me be fine because it worries them. So I'm still curious about that. Now, I know for a fact now they can't answer the questions as to why they're doing what they're doing because they haven't got a clue. They don't even know why they're doing it. maybe they might have to come to that reasoning themselves as to why they do it, because they're losing their outlets here. So I don't know where their outlets are going to go from here on in. And I'm sorry if it comes after anybody that's around here. And I would very much expect that if you talk up, if you say anything, you will probably be targeted by this group of people, because they are fanatics. So sorry if anything like that comes anybody other's way, but yeah, there was some people that want, obviously, to us to not be here. They don't like what we do.
Yeah, I would say they definitely don't like the road that we're on either, because the more we solidify ourselves in the logos, the logic, the trivium, the learning, the more it's going to confound them. So it's just more ashes being heaped on the head. That's an old ancient term. The idea of ashes or coals being dropped on someone's head. Pain that's involved in that, metaphorically speaking, of course. Back in the day, it wasn't metaphoric, it was real.
I would say that many people are triggered because I think this is a place where you can learn some where to start with logic, with thinking, with maybe reconsidering your previous thinking about many things. So I would say that it may trigger many people, because this is not popular here, because now the rulers of the world are expecting people just to comprehend and comply. And thinking is the way where maybe this will not meet this ruler's expectations. So, but I think this is a good way, good path.
Yeah, I would say, going back to just even the title of Bev's channel, Try Thinking. Bev, are you still there? Or are you making a brew?
I am around, but yes, I am making a brew.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever heard the story of why you named it Try Thinking.
Mainly because I had questions, right? But for my son, because this is what it's all about. It was, my son has autism, Asperger's, but not in a serious way, if that makes any difference.
Mm-hmm.
So in his Asperger's, there is no filter.
Right.
They just say things, right? And truth is truth. And I noticed that there are people out there that obviously don't like truth. It upsets them. Like if, for instance, there's a small 5-year-old kid that points and says, "A fat lady,"
Mm-hmm, right?
And the lady is fat, what you meant to do when the lady looks at them, like. So the idea was for me really to really think about how I was going to deal and how much extra I'd have to do in order to keep him away from this arena, right? And knowing that this arena that we're in is going to be massive, right? It is literally the outside world.
Right.
And he has to be able to deal with his autism, but and in reality at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And that causes extra thought in my mind, that you can't just allow all of these other influences in to somebody who's so impressionable. Then obviously it's not just him, it's everyone.
Right.
But you know, the try thinking has led me to do all of this, you know. So it was a way to get me to remember always, if you come to a conclusion, then think about that conclusion.
Yep.
Is there any way that could be wrong? Is there any way that, you know, and never stop thinking about it in order to try and get the best outcome altogether. So yeah, that's the idea, the concept behind try thinking.
Yeah, I brought that up because of, you know, what Paper just said, that this kind of, this idea of thinking seems to trigger certain group of people. Just the idea of thinking and not accepting the dogma or the doxa that we've talked about tonight, all that stuff, right? It seems weird that would trigger people. The fact that you just want to have a conversation, you don't want to accept a position. You just want to hear the argument, an actual formological argument.
Well,
and when you don't have it, you get gaslit and the ad homs, etc.
Yeah, when I first came into this, right, I was unaware that my surveying would be a part of it, right? I had no idea when I did the try thinking and originally made that thing, that name on Twitter, not on Discord, not on YouTube. It was all done originally on Twitter, and that's where my initial foray into this arena was, on Twitter. And all of the things I now know are not part of that initial try thinking, right? So through the thought process, I found out that, yeah, because of my background, it puts me in a different position. But I was unaware of that with the try thinking, or maybe subconsciously it led me there already. The name try thinking may have come about subconsciously, that ended up leading me to the discoveries about the fact that, I lost, call it my memory, but I don't know whether it was the memory of that or whatever, but that formulated me losing the model, which is a massive part. Now, if I hadn't have been brought into the whole thing, I probably might not have come to that realization. And I may have carried on being not mentally stable, let's say.
Yep.
Or becoming at ease now. I'm perfectly capable of talking about it, and it doesn't really need to be done now.
Right, yep.
But all of the realizations have come because of that thought process, if you will.
Well,
And,
yeah. Well, I was just gonna say, I the reason why I brought it up is it got me thinking based on what paper was saying, and then I think it's perfect for where we're going, right? I think it's perfectly named. Perfectly named. Try thinking. That's what we'll be doing, hopefully. A lot of.
Yeah, hopefully we can use the name correctly.
Yep.
And that's why few months ago I was talking about trivium and quadrivium, and this is called in Latin septem artes liberales. It means 7 skills or arts which will make you free. So that's, I think, if you can think, you are able to think, you are free. You are not enslaved by anything, even if you are in a hard condition in real life, in physical prison. But if you can think, you are able to think, you are free. You may be free even in prison. So I think that's a good goal, to be free in any circumstances.
Yeah, I think when you think of your process of thought, it's a conversation with yourself. So you have to be able to converse with yourself honestly. If you can't do that because of some sort of mix-up, then that's where the madness occurs. It's a process that happens within your own mind. Nobody else is there to sort you out. Nobody else can sort you out. There's only you that can do it. So it is well worth trying to come to at ease with yourself. And like paper says, it does give you a freedom. It gives you a peace. But like I say, that's just me. Everybody else is on their own also.
I hope that there are some people around that they may go that way, but maybe now they are not certain if, because it needs some bravery or some courage to do that, because free thinking and proper thinking is a choice. Sometimes it's a choice of life. So because changing way of thinking, de facto, it changes your life, because you can see same things in different way, better way.
Yeah. I did the moment I came to that realization was eye-opening for me. And it was like you can see things like through the eyes of a child again. And that is eye-opening, really. When you can see the world through like different eyes. But again, it's not something anybody can ever hand to you. It's something that everybody has to do on their own. And yes, I don't know.
This is just the choice, and the choice, because it concerns it is about your thinking, your mind. You are always free. I mean that there is no one who can force you to make that choice. This is always your own choice, your own free choice to think.
It also helps, for example, solve stress, for example, right? What is stress? Well, if you think about it, stress to most people, not everybody, is unsolved problems. So if you solve the problem, stress goes away and to learn that the ones that you can solve, you just don't think about them. It doesn't make any, you just can't, there's nothing you can do, right?
Yeah, release that dogma.
Yep.
Mm. So
Now,
thanks for
dogma,
sticking. Go on, sorry.
believing in garbage. Why would you do that? Why would you take somebody else's beliefs and fight for them, even though you're not sure if they're real or not? That is what fascinates me.
Because you're so convinced by them that you feel you need to convince others. And if you stray, if anyone strays too far from that, they can be punished. It is the ultimate control, dogma. And it is what happens even today with any given topic in 2022. It's what I've said many, many, many times. Pick any topic: politics, religion, governments, taxation. I mean, any medicine, doesn't matter, right? You go against the dogma, and there will be consequences for you. Sometimes dire consequences for you. But that's what dogma does. That's why dogma is important. Explicitly to get to the punishment for the dogma. You know that, right? Essie, you could think back to the medieval days, right? The Braveheart. Watch the movie Braveheart. There's dogma. Kiss the seal on my robe, and all will be forgiven. You just accept the dogma.
Yeah,
Just
bend the
accept it.
knee. Bend the knee, yeah.
Exactly. Don't think for yourself. Don't have your own opinions. Just accept the dogma, and the pain will be over. I always loved that scene at the end of Braveheart. True or not, doesn't matter.
Yeah, it is good. Good movie.
Yeah, but that's all you have to do. Just, the pain will stop. I'll stop coming after you, your way of living, your job, perhaps, your good name. I'll stop all that as soon as you just accept the dogma. Yeah, so what if you don't believe in it? So what if you think it's freaking ridiculous? The dogma that I'm trying to put on you. Just accept it. And it'll all be good. We could be friends again. Wouldn't you like to be friends again?
Partake in the steak.
Mm-hmm.
But befriend with who? I'd rather with sophist. But I'd rather be friend of the truth,
Yeah.
even if it is inconvenient and sometimes painful. And you have sometimes you have to pay dearly to pay
Yep.
for that.
Very
In
true.
modern world, yes, it's and I realize that, and in some part of I already have this consequences of person who is trying to think freely and not within dogma.
Mm-hmm.
So,
There's definitely a price to be paid for that in this world.
Indeed.
Yes.
I
Right.
learned that a long time ago. If you want to do things your way, like Frank Sinatra, there's a big price for that.
Well, I think, are we done? I think it's time for us to wrap up tonight.
Yep.
Now, tomorrow is Trivium. So, I don't know where we're going to go with that yet.
Something will come.
Yeah. I think we should still go back over the predicate thing. I think I missed that. I got the wrong one, so we could go back over the earlier one. The actual predicate conversation that we had.
The in and of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
The,
I think
the
so.
really
Yeah,
early
yeah.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that, definitely.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. So, thanks for sticking with us. 29 people still here. That's good. That I thought we would have people leaving in droves.
Yeah, no, it's been pretty steady all
yeah.
show long. So yeah, thanks for sticking around.
Yeah, thanks. I really do mean that as well, because it seems as though we do have a bit of a different audience than the people that obviously want to badmouth us, poison the well or whatever. So thanks for being with us, and we will strive to make these nights a little bit, it will be different from now on. That I can be sure of. I'm going to open up more. A lot of the stuff that we've been keeping in the background now must start coming out. I just feel Logos is telling me this is going to start getting, I mean, we have been saying it for a bit, but now that we can get to the heart of the argument, to the identity, we've found the identity of the problems, many of them, it will be coming to more of a head. And obviously, like McToon, if anybody wants to go over that, I think I'm going to click it on as soon as we finish here, just to have a little listen to see what ridiculousness they're going over. But I'm ready for it getting the slander and all of that stuff will come a lot more. And I'm fearful if I take myself out of the arena too much, then the focus will go more to people who are coming up with the arguments in the arena. So, yeah, I don't know.
This is always the price. If you have argument, you will be attacked.
Mm-hmm.
Call that the Frank Sinatra effect. If you want to do it your way.
So, yes, thanks for sticking with us. Even some Globers like it. Anybody, any other final words? Buster's going to sing us out. No, okay. Like I say, thanks for joining. A new try thinking will emerge. So, see you tomorrow.
It's the echo in your brain. You know you can't sustain the misconceptions in your mind. One day you'll see for sure what all of this was for. Then you can leave it all behind. The journey begins. I am the one, yeah, that will show the proof. I am the one, yeah, that is searching for the truth. I am the whispers of the logic in your mind. I am an agent of the Logos. the beginning was found, this thing that cannot speak. It's how we all truly learn. It's only ever attained when one lets go of fear. So don't let wisdom pass you by. The journey begins. I am the one here that will show the proof. I am the one here that is searching for the truth. I am the whispers of the logic in your mind. I am an agent of the Logos. It was there all along. How could I never have seen this thing that's danced all around? It wasn't until I left behind the things I believed that I could see things so clear. The journey begins. Become the one here that will show the proof. Become the one here that is searching for the truth. Become the whispers of the logic in their mind. Become an agent of the Logos. Become an agent of the Logos. We are the agents of the Logos.